Welcome everyone to Legion Gaming. I'm your host Donnie, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Deuce.
Hello, everyone.
And today we have a fantastical special guest who hasn't been here in a little while. We
Almost
have
a
Randy.
year.
Has it been a year already?
Almost.
Oh my
I think
god!
around WrestleMania time, probably.
Randy, welcome back to our show.
Oh, it's great to be back. It's great to be recording anything from the Hollywood Video Guys, but we're on a bit of a hiatus.
A little bit of a hiatus.
Co-host is a newly found dad.
We had some life-changing events, which is fair. But Deuce and I have been holding strong. We're at episode 54, which always blows me away how far we get into this. But today we're talking the most influential games ever.
To us.
To us. I guess, I was going to
No, I mean, we are the authorities.
We
on
are
this,
the authorities,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, this is official.
Well, yeah, this whole thing spawned from a Rolling Stones article that came out. The top 50 influential best games of all time.
Something like that.
Something like that. And anytime Don and I find these lists, we just laugh at
We're
them.
just a bunch of dissecting jabrones.
Yeah. So I know those skew a lot more towards the more recent games, but ours is definitely going to be a trip down memory lane.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a really fun episode. We've all put together our individual lists. We end up with like 15 each, with, of course, some duplicates in there. We'll kind of lay the ground rules as we get into the list here before we dive into that after the break here. But I think it's going to be a really fun episode. And I know I say that every time, but that's because every single episode we do is pretty damn fun. I don't think you'd be listening to us if it wasn't fun.
Thank you for the continued listening.
Exactly.
You have listeners?
Yeah, we got a few people out there. Yeah,
That's why we do this.
That's why we do this. Besides the fact that it gives us an excuse to go shop and eat and have fun. Yeah.
And hang out.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you want to reach out to us and tell us about what games you enjoy or maybe some influential games, you can reach us at legiongamingpod@gmail.com. And more importantly, we're on Instagram at Legion Gaming Podcast. And I'm a little bit more on Blue Sky at Legion Gaming Podcast as well.
And thanks to that, actually, I was approached with a question not through any of those topics because I live with her. But my wife wanted to pose a question to anybody who happened to be on this episode. It was, if there was a game from your past that they said was about to get a remaster or a remake now, like, what would be the game that you immediately say, no questions asked, I'm pre-ordering that, I'm getting that day one?
Oh my God.
I feel Don and I can answer this on 3, 2, 1. Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I think that's the really only proper choice. Although I have a hard time thinking about one right off the top of my head because I'm looking at my shelf while you're asking this question.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I would have thought, like, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker would be a fun one.
Of course. You could dip back into any era.
Any era, of course.
My first thought was Metal Gear 1 and 2 without the solids.
Yeah, the MSX versions, which have been re-released and translated, but they're still, 1980s games.
Yeah, stretching those out to like a full Metal Gear Solid experience.
With the theatrical feel to it, like that Metal Gear Solid did provide. Like, I want that now, because those stories are still integral to the overall
They're still
lore.
technically canon, and they're still heavily involved there. And my thing is, Metal Gear Solid had Twin Snakes, which I do like as a remake, but there's some points I do agree with certain people as far as like some of the cutscene changes.
Very
like,
stylized.
It's very stylized and
Of
it's very
the time.
influenced from like The Matrix, which was big a few years previous to that, right?
There was a few more silly moments too.
There was, yeah. Whereas I wish we could get the original game remastered in some way, because they've done the Master Collection, what it's called, but still a port of the PS1 game.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's not much that's been done to it. So I think, yeah, that would probably be my answer. I don't think of anything else I could think of right off the top of my head.
I assumed that's what we were going to go with.
Yeah.
The other one that popped into my head, because we know it's out there and they just won't release it, is the GoldenEye remaster.
Yeah, that one is really unfortunate because that one exists. It's basically done.
Yeah.
And it's just being held hostage or whatever, because I'm sure it's Nintendo and Microsoft battling out saying, like, we don't want the good GoldenEye on Xbox when we got the crappy Switch app version with with like goofy online control or online play and everything else.
Yeah, and I did show you that clip recently of somebody who made GoldenEye but used like the perfect dark animations. I was like, man, even that's kind of a better upgrade than what we got.
Yeah, I think, really, like, there's probably, I'm sure if you and I put our heads together, there's probably a big list of games I wish we remastered. Like, even for me now, I'm thinking like Comic Zone. Like, that was a big one for me when I was a kid.
Just last week, we talked about Onimusha.
Yeah.
Or
right?
2 weeks ago.
That should be a great remake.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. I like that one from your wife. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get to all that good stuff, fellas, what have you been playing lately? So, Ducey, would you like to start, or Randy, would you like to start?
I'll go. Mine's pretty simple. I've been kind of busy with work and all that. Mostly lately, I've been playing a lot of Black Ops 6, doing multiplayer, grinding for camos. And then
we've been playing a lot of that.
yeah, then when they put the double XP weekends on there, like, oh, well, I guess I have to play.
You
And
twisted my arm.
Sorry, Indiana Jones. I'll get to you. I promise I will get back to you, because Indiana Jones is also another one on there, which is a great game. I was having a lot of fun with it, but, my ADHD makes me take a lot longer with that than I probably should. I probably should just experience the story and go through it, but instead I was like, oh, what's under this rock?
Yeah.
Just constantly. And then before those released, one of the games that I played, because I tend to like a lot of those story-based, almost like choose your own adventure games in the style of like those Telltale series. Mm-hmm. And I played on Game Pass because I saw it was going to leave in like a week, so I was like, oh, let me just power through this. And I played The Quarry.
Oh yeah, I heard it was really good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's maybe the best, like, it's in the contention of like the best voice acted game you'll see, and also like visually, like the cinematics of it look really good. A lot of it obviously most of it takes place in the evening at night, and it looks very getting close to Uncanny Valley at times.
Yeah, that developer, because I believe it's the same developer who did Until Dawn and all those Man of Medan games, Man of Medan, whatever they're called.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's their most recent one, if I recall. And I know that got a lot of good reviews for its, for its graphics, especially because that's the thing is, like, I appreciate those sort of narrative adventure games where it's not open world, so the areas are a lot more confined, which means they have a lot higher fidelity for the graphics and everything, because it's just focused on the story more than anything else.
Yeah, and there was like an all-star cast essentially.
It's like
it's got David Arquette.
Oh, that's
like
right.
Ethan Suplee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, a lot of those games have a really good cast. Like I was telling you,
and they look just like them. So you're just like again, you kind of forget you're not watching a movie when you're at parts where you don't have to control anything.
It's like a modern take, an upgraded version of those old FMV games.
It is
where like you point and click, but you don't have to wait for the disc to load and like the action to pause. Like this one, I know you can also walk around too. You can control characters.
It's more walking simulator, but a little bit more, way more interactive than those. It's like you have decisions. There's probably like quick time events, I'd imagine, right, Randy?
And there's a massive amount of endings.
I think it's a good way to do horror games because you don't know what's going to happen if you fail the quick time event, or even if you pass it, you might still end up dying. But and like you said, there's a ton of different endings, so you can craft whatever story you want out of it.
Yeah, like the first time I played it, I played it through twice, because the first time I did it, there's like a certain thing where I had my character hesitate because I felt like that character
in that moment
would absolutely hesitate.
Yep.
And it was the character played by Ariel Winter. And it was like, oh no, I'm gonna hesitate, and we're gonna see what happens. Oh, her head just got ripped right off. and then it just progressively went off the rails until everyone was dead. And then the second time around, all of like their camp counselors, all of them survive. I found what I thought to be every piece of evidence. We had every piece of evidence to suggest what was going on, and I'm still going to get pinned for all these murders, and all these counselors are going to jail. So I was like, what do you do? What do you have to do in order to get away and not go to jail or die?
Yeah, I need to get into that game because I did buy it because it was like $10 and a buddy told me about it. And it's just like anything else. You always have those things that are on your backlog, and even though it's a pretty short and tight adventure, it's just I almost have to be in the mood for it, but it's one of those things where I've been wanting to play that one.
Yeah, and it drags a tiny bit at the beginning, as
of course
before you really get into the whole survival horror aspect of it. But I think it probably especially more so on my second playthrough, where I was just like, oh. But they also have really cool. They have a cool feature on it, like director's mode, where you basically can go through with every single character and you choose their attributes. Like, how do they approach this situation? And then you can just sit back and watch it like a movie.
Oh, that sounds really awesome.
It is. Yeah. So you can decide, you know what? I kind of like this, the one girl who you'd think would be like the kind of the bitchy character or whatever. But, like, maybe you like her because she's kind of a strong character. And what if I want her to be the final girl? And you just try to engineer a way to make that happen.
That's the name I was like, what's that character type in all horror movies?
Oh yeah.
Oh, the final girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you assign that? That'd be cool. Yeah.
Give it time. I guarantee you they'll make like a game that's just called the final girl.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a really cool idea with this format, but yeah, that sounds like a great title for a game.
Yeah.
Ducey, what have you been diving into lately?
I'm back into games. Although I'm also still playing Stardew a lot.
You're getting in the swing of it.
Yeah. I've been playing Stardew still a ton. My little farmer character is getting a girlfriend, and she recently, I didn't even know this is part of the game, but like she recently built a robot that immediately gained like self-awareness and said, "No, I don't want to be your servant robot," and blasts off into space.
I feel like that might have been something they added after the fact.
I was
that game's
wondering.
getting a lot of
I was like,
updates.
that is hilarious. I was not expecting that from this little farmer sim.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also been able to play more action heavy games again, and I got back into Indiana Jones.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I know you were diving into that before the New Year, essentially.
I'm about halfway. Well, I don't know about halfway into Egypt, but you said Egypt was kind of long.
Yeah.
But I am a good portion into it. I can't remember exactly where in the story I am because I've been doing a lot of the side stuff, and then some of the side stuff turns out, oh, you did kind of have to do that to progress the main story too, which I do appreciate for Indiana Jones itself. Is like you get to do all these explorations, and it is still going towards something. It's not like you got so completely sidetracked that the Nazis are standing around waiting for you.
Yeah. You still got quite a ways to go too, because that's only the second area.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple open areas after that. To me, like I said, I thought Egypt was one of the weaker parts. I thought it was a little too long, a little bit too big for how much you have to traverse.
Too wide
Too
open.
much traversal.
And the fast travel is really limited.
Oh yeah.
Did anyone else notice that you visited every single section of the map, and then when you would come to a fast travel thing, it would only offer you like
That's
two places?
absolutely what
Yeah,
happened
because
in Egypt.
It wasn't seem to unlocking correctly. Or,
No,
I
you
don't
have
know.
to specifically see the little flagpole or
That's
whatever.
what I
Even
learned
I felt
after.
like I did. And
Yeah.
so
I did
here I
that-
am just trudging through. Hey, look, Great Pyramid, Sphinx.
In the Vatican, there was this one quick travel pole that I could never get to because it was always surrounded by Nazis, and I didn't have the proper disguise for it. They were gonna like rat me out if I tried to go over there just to open a quick travel spot.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you go to the part of the map where the name changes, that should automatically be
I
a
agree.
quick travel.
I think it's a little goofy where you have to actively look at the pole, and then it opens at that point. I was like, this is stupid. Like, and for me, like, I was just so tired of Egypt at that point because of that. Like, I didn't realize that was the case. I was like, am I missing these things? Like, what's going on here?
Egypt is also so wide open that you don't even know where the poles are to look for them.
Yeah, and you're in a sandy area, and the poles they're skinny, so it's like they're kind of hard to notice. So yeah, that was my biggest quirk. Really,
Yeah.
was
My
that
biggest
point.
quirk with it
Yeah.
was that, and the like the medicine and the relics,
The artifacts.
the things like that. Now, if they had limited it to where you're just like discovering secrets and secret areas and solving secret tombs, awesome, I'm all about it. But when you're throwing in all these other things, I'm like, I guess I should grab it because I'm in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that gets a little cumbersome.
certain games I will definitely go through and get 100% collectibles. Like Spider-Man is an easy one for me to get through.
Yeah.
But there's some like this where sometimes there's only one way to get into the section and one way out. And I'm like, I don't want to go bother for this. And there is a reward for the end of the game, though. I think you get like a secret ending if you collect all of the artifacts throughout the game.
Damn.
But I was like, that's just too big of an endeavor for me to bother with.
I do like when the things are just little pieces of lore or Easter eggs. Like I think I showed you guys in the very first part when you're at the university, not even in the Vatican, and I found the little pamphlet for this hidden temple that he had gone to. Turns out it's the ride at Disneyland. They considered that an adventure for him, and I was like, that is
that's
awesome.
Pretty great. Yeah.
I've also been playing, because I've been playing the Switch a lot, I got back into New Star GP, the racing, and I'm up into the 2010s.
You're almost to current times.
Yeah. I was telling you, I really love the competition of that because to pass into the next decade, you have to win the championship. And it went 10 races right down to the wire. I won it by 1 point in the 2000s, and I got to go into the 2010s. Now, you can also choose to stay in the previous decades because the money you earn there can go towards your cars in the future. And that I think I might have to start doing because the 2010s is getting really hard.
Oh, I bet it is. I'm sure it scales up in difficulty as you get further along.
Yeah.
I still have to dive more into that because you got that for me for Christmas. So I've been playing a little bit, but it's been distracted by everything else.
Yeah.
But it's a really solid and fun game. Like, it just reminds me of a more in-depth virtual racing.
Yep.
Which, you can never be mad about virtual racing at all. Yeah. For what I've been playing quite a bit, but some of the highlights was the Thing Remastered that came out in December. It's by Night Dive Studios, who I'm always singing their praises because they do really great work with all their old remasters. I hadn't beaten this one before when it came out on the PS2 and Xbox way back in 2002, And I finished all the way through on this because it's like 6 to 8 hours. It's pretty solid. It's a really good remaster. Like the graphics look great, the lighting looks fantastic. The game very much feels like a 2002 game though, like down to the clunky gunplay. They improved the AI, but it's still kind of goofy because you kind of have to, like you have certain teammates and squad members who can unlock certain doors because they're like an engineer or like a medic. But there's times where like they won't exactly pick up that you're assigning them to go open the door, or you have to be like specifically in front of them and whatnot. So you have to deal with that kind of stuff when you're playing through the game. So it's like you have those annoyances that still kind of rear their head, but it plays really well. I thought it was really fun. I don't know if it's a little bit easier because of modern controls, but I kind of breezed through a lot of the game.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I felt that way about Shadow Man, where that game's really long and difficult, and it was on Nintendo 64, but with the modern controls, like it just makes dispatching enemies a lot easier. So I had a great time with it because it kind of takes place, I think it's before The Thing, the movie, and after, because at the end, you end up getting picked up in a helicopter by McCready. So I was like, that's kind of cool. They tie him in there. And John Carpenter makes an appearance as a scientist because you're investigating this station like the Antarctic of the Thing trying to take over humans and whatnot. Except John Carpenter gets killed, so it's kind of a funny Easter egg that he's in his own series, but he's killed off. The other big game that I've been diving into this week is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, which is a spin-off of the original Yakuza series. So in 2020 they released Yakuza Like a Dragon, and this was a departure from like the beat 'em up format of the original Yakuza games, and it takes place in I think it's like 2018 or something like that, in that time frame, in that game specifically. And you play as a Kasuga who he's basically been in prison for 18 years for a murder he didn't commit. And the whole idea of that game was like you're trying to figure out who framed you. And now at the end of the game, really like the two Yakuza clans end up sort of dissolving. And the second game, Infinite Wealth, I just got this week, is a sequel to that, a direct sequel that takes place 4 years after the fact. And in this point, you're in Tokyo, and you're like you're at this sort of job placement center where you're helping fellow Yakuza who aren't Yakuza anymore to like place them in jobs, right? And the story here is like he's going on about his own life. It has this really sort of like whimsical Pineapple Express tone to it, where everyone's just like they exist and they have personalities that are like kind of silly and whatnot. And the whole story here is that you're off to Hawaii now because you find out your mother's still alive because you're kind of an orphan. Like in that first game, you're told that you're born and you're put in sort of like the storage locker and someone gets picked up, which is the Yakuza boss who's sort of like your father, right?
Yeah.
So you find out your mother's still alive and they have to go to Hawaii to go find her.
Heck yeah.
And once you go there, like all these hijinks happen where you meet a taxi driver who speaks Japanese, except he ends up robbing you. And then you later befriend him as part of your party because he's also being taken over the Yakuza. And you eventually get to your mom's house, find out she's disappeared, and of course there's Yakuza in Hawaii now because they have gone from Japan where they're sort of like been ousted and exiled. So it's all this like melodrama, like detective drama stuff that's a little bit Miami Vice, but this game has so many mini games.
Yakuza 5-0.
Yeah, that's exactly what. And Daniel Lee Kim's in this actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so it's even better. But it's just filled with these silly mini games. Like I was telling you guys, I got into a dating app mini game in this where you match with girls and like you have to talk to them or text, and each text is like a mini game. Like we have to tap like triangle, circle, square, do it as quickly as possible with less errors because you want to impress them.
Yeah.
And they'll send you photos as time goes on as you level up. And I got totally catfished because I leveled up and matched with somebody, and then it's like, hey, let's go meet at a hotel or whatever. And you go meet there, it's like this fat nerd guy who's just like laughing at you.
Oh man.
And you can continue to do that because it gets more in depth where you get like bigger memberships and whatnot.
Can
and
you catfish somebody?
I'd
revenge?
love to find out. I'd love to find out because Costco's kind of like, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like he's a hero, but he's also kind of naive in some ways. Like he thinks everyone's just. He can trust everyone, even though he shouldn't, right? Yeah. So it's like it's really funny when that's his character archetype, and like he thinks he's going to meet this cute girl, and it's like this fat nerd guy in a hotel room.
It's like if Ted Lasso was a super spy or something.
And like there's also this mini game I came across where you have to earn money because you're just you're there, and it's like Crazy Taxi with food delivery. So I'm collecting these burger pizza icons, and you have to do stunts like on your bicycle.
Which, this should be a whole game in and of itself.
It should be. Like I really love the humor in this game. Like it just doesn't take itself seriously, and there's like this, there's like a tight melodrama in there too with this detective story. And the one of the characters in here is from the original Yakuza series. His name's Kiryu.
Oh
and
yeah.
He's a big piece in this too. But beyond all that, like the combat, it's like a JRPG with a little bit more movement. Like you can kind of position yourself to where if you knock back an enemy and it'll knock back into other enemies or into walls or cars or something like that. And it also has quick time or like was it timed hits like Mario RPG, where each special ability you have to mash square or time triangle. You can perfect defense, so you can defend yourself from mitigate damage. It's just a great time. I admittedly got stuck in the first game at like 50 hours.
Yeah.
I got to a boss I just could not beat, and I just had to grind it out. But I picked this up. It was like $20, and I'm having like an awesome time. I already put like 8 or 10 hours in like the last few days.
You totally jogged my memory with that, and reminded me that I've been playing Mario and Luigi Brothership too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were talking about that one in the last episode we were talking about. Yeah.
And that whole game is like this land has broken apart by some evil, and you have to go on this literal ship. It's like an island that's shaped like a ship, and it's floating around on the currents. And you have to connect to other pieces of the land and try to tether them back together. Mm-hmm. And I did that with like 3 or 4 islands, and I've beaten one of the quote unquote bosses. I don't even know if it's like a major boss or a minor boss. It was bigger. And then like all of a sudden the map opens up even more, and I'm like, oh crap, this is a true RPG. Like,
and I love that, because that's what these Like a Dragon games do, is where it's like it starts you off in sort of a small area, it expands, and it's great because there's a lot of RPGs where they have these crappy mini games that just feel like a slog, And this, it's like they're totally optional. Like you come across them if you want. They're usually goofy enough and fun where like you'll get your fix maybe after one, but there's somewhere like you might dive into because it's just so fun.
Yeah.
With like the food delivery, you're constantly getting a better score. There's more events to be found around the map, right? There's just a lot to do in this game, and it's a lot of fun. And also there's an arcade where they have ports of Sega games. Like I found Sega Bass Fishing. There's the volleyball game, Sega Strikers. There's like a claw machine with Sega stuffed animals. It's just... We're going to talk about it in a moment soon enough, but it's really what the evolution of what Shenmue was in the beginning, and this is sort of like the product of that. So I've been having a great time. It's worth it. I don't know if you guys will ever get into it. Maybe it comes to Game Pass or something, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's a slow start for sure, but once it gets going, it's really good.
it's funny because I kind of want to get into the whole Yakuza world.
Yeah.
I started playing Yakuza 1. It was like what's the remake of that one?
Kiwami.
Yeah. I played that one a little bit, and I don't even know if I got stuck or just distracted, but I really enjoyed that.
They're really great.
And then when I heard about what Like a Dragon was with the comedic elements to it, I was like, oh man, that's right up my alley too.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's some instances where I was like really laughing out loud because it's just so silly and just dumb, and the interaction between the party members is great too, because like Kiryu's like the serious former Yakuza guy, and Kasuga's like the naive Yakuza guy, and you have I think his name's Tomoshiro or something like that, but he's like the taxi guy you end up befriending because you bust him out of the Yakuza guy's grasp. And he's like the guy who doesn't understand what Yakuza life is like, so he's just like the outsider. He's like, you guys are nuts, and like he doesn't get it, but he's also added like the comedic relief to the whole thing. It's really well done. I've been enjoying the shit out of this game. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, fellas, I think that's a great segue to get into some of our most influential games of all time. All right, guys, we're here at our main events. Today we're talking the most influential games of all time. So, as I said at the beginning of the show, we all kind of put our own list together here. We're kind of going to go through them in a round robin style. There's definitely going to be some duplicates. There's definitely going to be some things that we'll be diving into more than others. We also have a few honorable mentions. And we also have a list from our friend Nick that I'll read off in a moment here. But to kind of lay down some groundwork and some rules here, like Ducey mentioned at the beginning of the show, This episode was kind of precipitated by that Rolling Stone list, and it's, they're one of many lists. Like there's countless lists online of most influential games, most impactful games. And for us, we kind of figured, well, let's put our heads together and see what games we come up with, because we definitely disagree with some choices they put on there, right? And for us, I think we kind of measure things for the impact they had on gaming at the time, and also however many years later, because there's some old games on this list that are still influencing games of today. And that's kind of the impetus here, is that these games were remarkable for a multitude of reasons. Maybe some don't age as well as others, but nonetheless, they still had a pretty huge impact on the gaming industry as a whole, and really just our taste as well.
I think that was one of the stipulations in the article, was that like a lot of the games were newer because they were sequels to some games that were influential, but those prequels didn't age as well. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted to say, we put this on this list because it's still playable. But I feel like a lot of the games on our list, no matter how old they are always going to be playable.
Yeah, and I think for us too, the way, at least how I crafted my list, is that it's also sort of the lasting impact of these games, right? Because there's some, like on instance, like Rolling Stone put Fortnite on there.
Yeah.
And that game, yeah, it's influential in a lot of ways, but it's also only 8 years old, and also there's some negative impacts, I would say, like battle passes.
It was negative influence.
FOMO,
Yeah.
right? There's microtransactions, like, microtransactions have been around, but now we have games that are totally dedicated to like these live service things, and everyone's trying to get on that live service boat, right? And a lot of people fail because there's only so much space. Developers get laid off. So I recognize there's a positive influence, but I'm also like, it hasn't been that long to really determine its impact on games, because 20 years from now, people may not care about Battle Royale. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's already sort of morphing where they don't care about the battle royale aspect.
That's true.
It's really just a hangout.
Yeah, at that point, it's like a hub.
You can go to concerts and things in that game.
Yeah, Randy, anything you want to add before we get into our list?
Oh,
here?
just to say, like, with my list, I thought about not only what the influence did it have on future games and game making and all that, but how did it influence me as a gamer?
Yes.
Also true, yeah.
So
yes.
I took both of those things into account, and that's why I do think, like I'm happy with my list. And I wouldn't say that this is the be all end all list, but
There's going to be
considering
some
my
that I
feelings
forgot.
on it and how it affected me and my memories of, was this like the first time I experienced something like this? Mm-hmm. And it becomes commonplace. That's where a lot of my list comes in.
Absolutely. So, these lists are definitely going to be sort of molded by our personal tastes in addition to the criteria we laid out. But of course, like, this is not comprehensive. I was talking this earlier, like, we could do a list of 100 if we really wanted to, and it'd be pretty easy to come up with that. Ordering it would be a whole other issue. But, this is not a definitive, comprehensive list. This is also just obviously our personal opinions on things. But of course, again, if you want to reach out and let us know, you have a couple of channels. You can get to us on Instagram, Legion Gaming Podcast, or email us, legiongamingpod@gmail.com. So before we get into our list, I'm going to read a list from our friend Nick. Nick, he's one of our favorite listeners here. He always sends us emails, which is always nice to hear.
Yep.
So I'm going to read through his list here. So he said, games that I think are the most influential, impactful games of all time. He put Grand Theft Auto 3. This game inspired so many open world games. The Legend of Ocarina of Time. This game influenced so many action games after it with the lock-on Z targeting system. Resident Evil, he says, while it's not the first survival horror game, it paved the way for what we know survival horror games today and still influences many other horror games. Super Mario Brothers, which I think is a very obvious choice.
Yeah.
This game basically saved the industry back in the 80s. Doom inspired and influenced so many first-person shooters at the time. Halo 2 influenced online console multiplayer, with it being one of the earliest Xbox Live games. Without Halo 2, Xbox Live might never have found its footing. So I think it's a really solid list. He just gave us a few choices. I think those are all great choices on there because you can make a case for any one of these games. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So who would like to go first with some honorable mentions and number 15 based on our list here?
All right. So I'll go first. My honorable mentions, I got Virtua Fighter.
I love that one.
One of like the first. Was it the first 3D fighter?
It was basically I'd say it's probably the first 3D fighter.
The first, or at least the first one that did it well.
Yeah, that game came out. It's always wild to me because I was framed that with the Saturn, which was like 95, 96, and that game came out in 1994.
Yeah, well, it came out on Genesis.
Virtua Fighter
looks
2
really
did.
bad. Well, the original Virtua Fighter came out on
Did
Genesis.
as well? Oh, I never played that one.
And it was not very good looking. I don't remember it on Genesis because we had a Saturn and we got Virtua Fighter 2 that came with the Saturn along with Daytona, which was great.
Yeah.
My next one probably should be pretty high on the list, but it's the sequels and all that I really have the fondness for because I never played it that much back then or at all back then. We got Doom.
Nice.
All right, after that, Driver. This game was really cool because it was this open world driving game, and it was like the precursor to Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah, you couldn't get out of the car.
Couldn't get out of the car.
But it was still fun as hell.
I love that game.
Yeah.
My dad and I played the hell out of this one.
If you can get through that initial awful drive test that
Yeah.
they screwed up the coding on and somehow left it on some sort of like Japanese extreme difficulty.
Yeah.
I don't know how we did it, but we finally got through it and I was able to play the game and we loved it. After that, we got Half-Life 2. A fantastic game. Had some pretty incredible physics for the time.
Absolutely. I think that game is perhaps more mind-blowing than people let on. Because in 2004, there was nothing that looked as good and had the level of physics it is, especially with the gravity gun. Mm-hmm. Which I put on my iconic weapons list. Yeah.
Exactly. I knew it was going to be on there. It had to be up there, along with the spread gun from Contra, Scorpion Spear. Yeah. And then the last one, which you could play it alongside Halo 2 if you got the orange box.
Half-Life 2.
Oh yeah, sorry. Did I? What did
said
I say?
Halo- you said
did
Halo
I say
2.
Halo 2? Oh, geez.
We have Halo on the mind.
Half-Life 2. Yeah, we will talk about Halo 2.
We
I'm
will.
positive. Portal. What a great game. The game that no one cared about in the orange box, because all they cared about was, oh, sweet, Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Episode 2 and then Team Fortress and all that, and then whatever this other game is. And then that other game became the big smash hit of the whole
Amazing
lot.
puzzle game. Yeah.
Absolutely spectacular game. Incredible gameplay.
I don't
And-
think I never played the orange box. I got Portal when it came to Xbox Live.
I got that
arcade.
day one because I had Half-Life 2 on Xbox and I didn't finish it. And then as soon as Orange Box came out in 360, I was working at Circuit City. I was like, I have to buy that. Just the value there is ridiculous.
I think
for 50,
I bought
60
that.
bucks.
I don't know if I bought it day one, but I bought it pretty quickly
Yeah,
because
it's a fantastic value.
not because of Portal, but because of Half-Life 2
Yep.
and all the other ones. And I don't even know if I got through the other ones.
I
I don't
did.
even think I
I was-
finished Half-Life 2.
I have to say I was pretty proud because I did beat Half-Life 2, Episode 1 and 2 on there, but I got the achievement in Episode 1 where you get through the entire game firing one bullet because
Whoa.
you could use the gravity gun throughout the
time.
whole game, right?
Yeah.
So again, that's a testament to how awesome that weapon is that you could beat the entirety of Episode 1, which, it's probably like, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours. I forgot how long that game is, with just the gravity gun. The only bullet you use is at the beginning of the game where you have to shoot the padlock off the gate. That's it. That's
Nice.
the only bullet you could use. Yeah, fantastic honorable mentions, Randall.
Yep. Are we going to go with more honorable mentions from everyone else? Or just give me
Yeah,
on
you know
this-
what, Deucey, go ahead and go
Yeah,
through
let's
yours
go
because
through that.
I really was just dovetailing off yours, so I don't really have
Exactly.
much.
Oh, yeah.
Deucey, go with yours and we'll get into Randy's list.
I also have Doom as my honorable mention, but I could easily put it on my list too because I played it a lot more back then than Randy did, and I've actually played the more recent ones less time than I have played the originals.
I love those new ones.
Too.
Another honorable mention goes to, I kind of gave this a tie. It was Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 4, and Fallout 3, because it paved the way for modern Bethesda first-person RPGs.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've spent way too many hours in Fallout 4 and Skyrim because of these two that started it all. I also give a mention to Uncharted 2, more so than Uncharted 1, because Uncharted 1 felt like a game. Mm-hmm. Uncharted 2 felt like an action movie.
that was the
experience.
proper step
Blockbuster.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love any game that wants to copy that because they did it great, and I want to play more games like that. A honorable mention to Star Trek Online,
This was a surprise for me. I was surprised you put this on your list.
because I thought about putting WoW on there, but then I realized, no, like WoW is very influential, obviously, for online MMOs, but Star Trek Online spoke to me personally, being a Trekkie and just loving the whole atmosphere that you get to go into. They have so many callbacks to all of the different series and movies, and the missions aren't just sort of cookie cutter, like go and collect this and bring it back to me, that sort of thing. Like each one is set up kind of like an episode you would see in a show or the movies, and it was just a great online experience. Another honorable mention, Gran Turismo 3. I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about Gran Turismo later, but I just loved 3 because I think it took what 1 and 2 did and then made it more approachable and just looked tons better.
Yeah, I was going to say Gran Turismo 3 and 4, whatever the hell it is, 22, 23 years later, still look amazing for
Yeah.
a PS2 game, especially 4. If you put that through like an one of the like the HD, like an HDMI or whatever, like an upscaler, it looks amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, Randall. So go ahead and kick us off with the first one on your list here.
All right, first one on my list. We're going back to the PlayStation 1, and we're talking about Resident Evil 2.
I love this game.
Yes,
Yes.
we all do. I didn't actually own this one. The first Resident Evil I ever owned was 3. But I still remember going to a friend's house and playing or seeing them play Resident Evil 2 and just thinking, oh, this is so cool. Like, it was probably like the first like immersive looking survival horror game that like I had seen.
Very
Like,
action
I
oriented.
never played Alone in the Dark or anything like that. And Resident Evil 1 kind of flew under the radar for
For
me.
sure. Yeah.
But why I picked this over the original one is because of the multitude of ways you can play through it. Mm-hmm. You have the main missions that you can do twice because you can do it as was it Claire,
Claire and Leon.
Leon, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so you can play as Claire and Leon through those. But then come to find out, there's even another mode that you can play as either one of them. It's like, and it's a different game. It's a different story. It's a much shorter one. But just having that wealth of options, you know, this is the first game that I can remember that had multiple playthroughs with different characters that actually made a difference. Not just, you know, you're just playing this character through the exact same scenario.
It was definitely unique because I could say I can't recall a game before that I played where the second story, they called it a zapping system, where the second story is from the perspective of the other character, but it also intersects with your story sometimes and goes off on its own point, which is, it's pretty amazing. Not many games can do that today.
No, they don't. They still don't. But that's tremendous.
Even the
value
remake
for a
didn't.
survival.
Yeah, the
horror game.
remake limited it a lot more. I feel like to its detriment because they tried to make it less backtracky, but I was like, I don't know. I really liked how the last one worked in the original. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it was definitely the king of those early Resident Evil games. Kicked off one of the biggest franchises in video games, and an unfortunate franchise in movies. Hopefully, we'll get a better reboot of that coming soon.
I would hope.
I heard they have a director attached to it, and apparently he's really good.
I hope
and
so,
people are
but
kind of
For the
excited
third
that,
try.
I tend to have, I'm tend to be sort of very skeptical when they
Yes.
say this. So, I'll keep an open mind. I'm definitely going to watch it. Whether it'll
exactly.
be good, I don't know. I hope it's good. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Ducey, kick us off with your list here.
So my number 15 might be a surprise to everybody, even out there listening.
I would say I was surprised, but after revisiting this, because I'd seen that video recently, I could see why it's on there as well. This is a great game.
I guess I'll explain my equation that made my list, where like it was games that I think are top games ever, mixed with the influences they had on the industry, plus the time I spent with them. And a lot of these I just spent days, months, years on. And this is one of them, NASCAR racing for the PC. MS-DOS. And it is, up to that point, probably the first realistic driving sim I did, racing sim. This was before Gran Turismo and Forza and all those, which I also love to this day. But this was the first time where, like, I realized, these games can be realistic just like you see on TV. The physics in this game are amazing compared to the NASCAR games we got in like 98, 99 on the PlayStation and the N64. This game really, it mattered how you set up your car. It mattered how you bumped the other cars, and like just tapping them a slight bit too much on the bumper or in the back corner sent them spinning. You had the big wreck. They had realistic cautions. They had realistic rules. One time I exited the pits too early and I got a black flag and I had no idea why.
Like, that's in here?
Yeah. And on top of all that, it then had this great like customizer where you could go in and change any driver name to anybody you wanted. So back then I put in all my friends' names. And then it had a paint shop that could rival like Photoshop at this time.
It was very robust for what it was. Like, for being a secondary feature, because I remember you and I spent a lot of time with this, and I think you and I even made a PlayStation 1 logo on my car.
Yeah.
On there. It has a lot of tools like for scaling, and you could put text on there. It's really impressive for, I think this was like 93, 94, right?
94, 95, somewhere
94,
around there.
95. So yeah, the fact that they had a full-blown paint editor in the game to, modify your stock cars is amazing.
It taught me, because the graphics were a little dialed back, it taught me how to shade paint jobs so that when you looked at them out on the track, it looked like the sun was hitting them, because in-game you didn't really have like reflections or anything like that you would now. So like I said, it taught me how to approach paint jobs and Photoshops and everything like that.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting choice, but I think you have a lot of good reason to put it on there that I would agree with. Yeah. My list starts off with a game that I think maybe might be too low compared to yours. Maybe, fairly. I think a lot of people would argue with this. But my number 15 on here is Tetris.
Too low.
It's very too low. But the reason I put it on 15 is because everything else I put on my list is so tightly packed that, like you guys, you probably were like mulling over, like, should I place this higher? Should I put this lower? And I figure I had to at least put this somewhere on the list, because the other games for me they have maybe the impact isn't as much as Tetris, but for me, I just feel like Tetris belongs on any influential games list no matter what.
But
This game is the sort of pioneering of easy to learn, difficult to master, and this thing sold so many Game Boy consoles that it was like the ultimate portable game. That, I mean, nowadays, like, you have Bejeweled, you have, Puzzle Bobble, Puyo Puyo, all those puzzle games, columns, all those games spawned off of Tetris, because there were puzzle games previous to this, but nothing was like a drug addiction like Tetris was. And the fact that so many, it's still being released today, different iterations. There's Tetris Connected, which to me is like the pinnacle of Tetris, especially in VR. But this game, I think it's hard to understate its impact for puzzle games, and especially portable game above all else. All right, Randall, your next choice.
All right, so my last one, I went with Resident Evil 2 over Resident Evil 1. This time I'm doing the opposite. I'm going with the very first Assassin's Creed. Now, Assassin's Creed 2 and the various sequels to Assassin's Creed 2 are vastly superior games to this game. However, the influence that this game had, it feels like every adventure, open world adventure, where you're going around collecting collectibles and all that, I feel all of it has been carbon copied from this original Assassin's Creed formula.
Especially when it comes to stealth.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what do you call it?
Eavesdropping?
No, the towers.
Yes,
exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, the waypoints.
The way you unlock the maps.
Yep.
The way you're able to view the map to fast travel. Like, every game looked at this game and was like, well, that just seems very intuitive.
Yeah.
So we're just going to do that too.
Yeah, how many games?
And so that's why I put this on there, because it does deserve some love, even though the game itself, it's a good game. It's not great. The second one is great.
Yeah.
But this one's a pretty limited and a little bit repetitive, but the bones of it are what made it so influential for not only future Assassin's Creed games, but several games like Arkham series, Spider-Man.
Horizon.
Yeah. And, this game was a huge deal when it came out. I think it was 2008 is when it came out, somewhere around there.
Or 6?
2007, 2008. I want to say it's around there.
around
It was
there.
a little bit after the 360 launch. But I remember this was a huge deal when it came out for the exact reasons you talked about, because the stealth was really refined for what it was. Like, it's primitive now. We talk about it like 17 years later. But the fact that you had this massive open world that looked gorgeous at the time, and you had those points where the parkour, right? That was very hard to do. Like, they had Prince of Persia previous to this, which was also Ubisoft, like Prince of Persia Sands of Time.
That was very limited, though.
It was way limited compared to this, but this was like that next step where the parkour felt like you could actually, jump on roofs or go up these towers.
It was so natural because you just had to push one button.
Yeah.
And then you could just climb up over everything.
Yeah. And now, like you said, Rainy, there's so many games that, have influences, like Ghost of Tsushima, right? That's one of our favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Same sort of boilerplate template.
And I totally understand. Like, I'm not going to knock someone for kind of copying it, because it's like, no, I'm sorry. It's a very intuitive system.
And that's the whole point of this list, is like those games that influence other games, that take these ideas and, ideate on them or improve them or refine them further, right? Ducey, the next one on your list.
I kind of did the same thing Randy did here, and I chose a prequel or origin game over a sequel, and that's just Halo, Combat Evolved.
Yeah.
It's really low on my list, though, because I'll talk about some future first-person shooters on here, but Halo I will give it props, it did, I wouldn't say perfect, but it really advanced enemy AI, and also the co-op mode. That was a great way to spend time with friends. You could finally do regular missions together instead of always having to be like in a multiplayer deathmatch.
Yeah, this experience was unlike anything else at the time, because I've told the story on the podcast before, but my buddy got an Xbox at launch, and he always sleep over my house, so he basically bought it, brought it over my house, and slept over for like 3 or 4 days. And we just played through this game because the co-op was just so fun. Like, I don't think there was any experience before this where you could kind of coordinate with your buddy, right? Like, flank this side or whatever. Because, like you said, the AI was pretty advanced at the time. That was a big thing they made a big deal about, with the elites and the grunts.
Yeah, aside from the grunts, like, the enemies would hide from you, and there was those little guys with the shields where
the jackals.
You could like distract him, and then your buddy goes up behind him and hits him.
That's a great example of it. Yeah. Or if you were good enough, you could snipe in that little opening and they have in their shield.
Yeah.
But more often than not, if you're in co-op, you're like, hey, just go flank them while I suppress them, right? And yeah, this game, this was an easy choice to put on the list, I think.
I will say, like, I have fondness for other first-person shooters because they tried to advance things like, oh, here's your objective. But it wasn't really an objective. It was more of a checkpoint. Mm-hmm. But it did help progress the story. It probably led to, modern Call of Duties and things like that. And I will say there's like a give and take. I know we'll probably talk about Halo 2. I did not enjoy the story of Halo 2.
I agree with you there.
But the multiplayer was amazing on that with all of our friends. We have tons of memories. Whereas in Halo 1, the story was great until you got to about the flood. But I just think overall that had good times in multiplayer as well. And the story was on top of it, that they were like, where's this going to go? This is a good step forward.
Yeah, and a lot of games took the format all the same, right? Where they would have those checkpoints, like in scripted events. That's another thing that Halo did, was they had these scripted events that were happening around you while in the middle of your firefights. And that hadn't been really done as much before. Like Half-Life would do it later on with Half-Life 2, right? But Halo was like the first game where you felt like you were in this large-scale battle because everything's going on around you. You got your buddy right next to you, probably driving the Warthog while you're on the back, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this was an excellent choice, and I think it's one of the more obvious ones.
Was this only 2-player co-op?
It was only 2-player, but you could do, I think, like LAN, like 16-player multiplayer LAN. Yeah,
because wasn't it? I don't remember if Halo 2 was, but Halo 3 had 4-player.
Halo 3 had 4-player. I don't think 2 did.
Yeah,
I think that the original Xbox probably would have cried at like 15 frames a second if it tried 4-player co-op in the story. Yeah. My next choice is Double Dragon. We did an episode on Streets of Rage trilogy pretty recently, which that's one of my favorite series ever. But beat 'em ups and arcades really were all spawned after Double Dragon, right? There's a couple games we'll talk about later on that influenced a lot of other arcade games and other games in this genre as well. But Double Dragon was like the first big co-op arcade game that I think most people had ever played. We talked about some of the beat 'em ups that were produced that, like I think it was called like Renegade or something like that. Mm-hmm. But Double Dragon was the one where you had a continuously scrolling level. You were with your buddy the whole time. Of course, you would pump quarters in there. And it just spawned the entire beat 'em up genre after this, because after that, there was so many beat 'em up clones. Like the arcade was always beat 'em ups, fighting games, right? There was, you had racing cabinets and whatnot, but when you were there, like most people were on those machines, whether it was a beat 'em up like Double Dragon or like a Street Fighter or something like that. So for me, for this to spawn a whole genre and influence everything from co-op gameplay to like 2-player with your buddy on the Nintendo, like even that version was really fantastic for what it was. I feel like I had to put this on there because this one is kind of a cornerstone for a lot of people, especially in the arcades.
It's a shame that like the rights have gone just every which way. So there's tons of different versions of this, and some are good, some are bad.
Exactly. It's so hit or miss.
And they haven't been able to like focus like Streets of Rage. I know they keep trying to reboot it too, and like some of the more recent ones have been good, but it's just not up to like the same quality as Streets of Rage 4 or something.
Yeah, they had Double Dragon Gaiden, which I thought was cool, right? It was kind of like a roguelike in a sense. I call it roguelike, but it's really just like an arcade experience where you get through so many levels, right? Or so many areas, level up your abilities that are permanent and go through every game, which I think is kind of a cool format. But you're right, the art style and the gameplay just doesn't come close to like a Streets of Rage or Shred's Revenge or anything like that. They've just been up and down since then, really the prime of Double Dragons in the early days, right? And everything after that's
1 and 2 and maybe 3.
Maybe 3, and then I have fondness for Double Dragon Neon and Double Dragon 4, but they're not great beat 'em ups compared to other series. Yeah. Randy, your next choice.
All right, my next choice is Sim City.
Fun one.
Yeah, it's very fun one. Another one.
I was hoping one of you would put this on your list.
Yeah, I knew I had to, because I was looking at different genres of games. And this was the first game that I can remember being like this, where, I go to a friend's house and they're playing it and I was thinking, oh, that is so cool. And, ended up playing it on your own, creating your own city, doing a really terrible job at it if you were me as a kid. Mm-hmm. And this had obvious influences. It later on influenced The Sims, which is in itself a huge influential
that's a huge thing. Yeah, it's a huge series on its own.
It's a bigger series on its own now. But you also had things like Roller Coaster Tycoon and all these other games that just tried to be like this. Yeah, or like
there were so many
Railroad Tycoon.
Well, look at now how many simulator games they have, like Car Mechanics Simulator, Bus Simulator, like
Power Wash
Sim, like they've all spawned in one way or another from SimCity, right? They all try to take all the minutia of like building a city or like being a bus driver.
Well, think back to when this first came out and like everything with the Sim in the title, it was from EA and Maxis and stuff, and it was like Sim Earth,
Sim Ant,
Sim Copter.
Yeah.
I really loved SimCity back in the day. I don't know if I ever played the original.
Yeah, I listed the original, but I'm pretty sure the one I played was 2000.
Me too. And then definitely 3000 I got hooked. That was probably one of the first games I got when I first got a computer. And then it also hooked my mom.
I do remember that.
So we would like be fighting for time
I remember
together.
that. Yeah. The battles where she's like, well, I technically paid for this, so I'm going to be playing
Yeah,
first.
she's like, she gets in there, like, she sneaks in there after breakfast, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go play my consoles.
I'd go over your house, and she'd be on there. Like, we're making lunch in your kitchen where your mom's just like playing The Sims or SimCity.
Yeah.
That was awesome. All right, Ducey, your next choice.
Oh, my next choice was a late entry. I don't know why I didn't remember this at first, but I know later on in the list we'll be talking about fighting games, and I do not have the best fondness for fighting games.
It's probably my fault. I'm sorry.
But
I started him earlier before he got to that.
Yeah. But I do love this series, and I put on Super Smash Brothers. Specifically, I put on Melee, because I do really enjoy the most recent one because of just the whole roster you can have on there, and it's the easiest to access right now. But Melee is probably when it really found its footing and became what we know Smash Brothers to be.
I agree. We played Melee a ton.
I even played it a ton solo.
Me too.
And I just remembered, like, I don't know, I didn't even know I got good at it until I started playing other friends. And I still remember our friend of the podcast, Juan, the first time I hung out with him, we went over to his house and he was like, hey, have you played this game before? I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And he thought he was going to kick my ass. And the first time I won, I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I own this.
I own this.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't have to memorize any moves or anything. It's every character is the same, but they all play so differently that you can find your favorite and then just start wrecking people with it. Like I loved Kirby back in the day, Fox, even Mario to an extent until they got his water backpack.
Yeah, that was a little weird, but this game, they really shined, or they made every personality shine for each of the characters. Like you said, it's a very diverse roster from like all of your Nintendo favorite franchises, and we played the hell out of Smash Bros. 1.
Yeah,
but I feel like Melee is, like you said, when they really hit it just right, and it's also significant because this was December 2001, and I feel like there's gonna be games on this list that all came out between October, November, December 2001. So there's something about that quarter of 2001 that was really significant in gaming, but Melee was just. God, I mean, we still would pick that up every now and then now.
Yeah.
And still have all the same fun with it. Yeah. The next one on my list is one that I kicked Halo 2 off because one of you guys put it on there. And we'll talk about that soon. But I was really struggling because I wanted to make sure this game got some attention because it's one of my favorite games. And it was such a huge deal when it came out in 2000. I think it was 2000.
I think it was 2000.
2000, right? It was Shenmue for the Dreamcast. So this was developed by Sega. It was done by Yu Suzuki, who originally created games like Super Hang-On and Virtua Fighter, which you could see a lot of Virtua Fighter DNA in the combat in Shenmue. But this was like the first massive open world game that I just remember being so hyped for when it was coming out because I had the Dreamcast, I loved it. Really, their Dreamcasts love arcade ports, which is fine. Like I love the system for that. But this was like the first huge, massive game that felt like it was going to be like that AAA Dreamcast title. And it was, had elements of an immersive simulation where, like you're going around like helping someone find their cat or something. Like the whole story, it's little stuff. Like the whole story is you're trying to find your dad because he's missing, but you're doing all this small stuff in the middle of it, in between like investigating things, right? You could get lost in like the little gacha machines, like you're finding all the Sega properties and the little balls that you put in. You put some yen, turn the knob, and it would come out. You could get details down to like opening drawers to find stuff, right? This game tried to make it as realistic as possible, be like an immersive real life game while you're trying to go through with quick time events. The combat was like Virtua Fighter. And, this was previous to Grand Theft Auto 3. And I think, it didn't do well because the Dreamcast didn't do well. But I feel like this game doesn't get its its justice for what it does bring to the table for open world games, especially on inferior hardware like the Dreamcast, which was great at the time. But compared to the PS2, it was, considerably underpowered.
I can't remember if I borrowed this from you when I borrowed your Dreamcast.
You did, but you were so focused on Code Veronica and I think a little bit of Jet Grind that you're like, yeah, this is cool, but Code Veronica is Code Veronica.
Yeah, I vaguely remember playing it. I probably watched you play it more, but I did really enjoy it. And just like Sonic, I always wanted to play Sonic, and I never had a Sega Genesis. I always kind of wanted to play Shenmue because of what it said it was going to do, and I always wanted a game like that. In fact, I was kind of disappointed when Grand Theft Auto 3 didn't have a lot of the extra
Yeah.
stuff in it.
Like Shenmue really wanted you to take your time and take in the world that you're in. I think it was like in Tokyo, where it was somewhere in Japan, where
Yeah.
it's just it wanted to explore every nook and cranny, or meet just the common people around. Like all the NPCs had their own personalities, you know.
I'd say it's probably influenced Yakuza more than Grand Theft Auto.
That's
has.
what. Yes, I was going to say that. Like a Dragon, like I was talking about at the top of the show. Like this is sort of the culmination of Shenmue. Like Shenmue set the templates. And then Yakuza and Like a Dragon, all these games, these open world games that take place in that same sort of, Japanese style and whatnot, and that those Japanese stories are, spawned from Shenmue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great pick, Don. You mind if I go on to my number?
Yeah,
12?
go on your next
All
one.
right,
Randy.
my number 12 is Shenmue. So
Not even 2.
no, not Shenmue 2, just Shenmue, and it's a game that I did not play back in the day. I played it a lot more recently, just a few years ago.
Oh, I know. Is that recent? Wow.
Yeah, it was just a few years ago. But the influence is just like, I knew how influential it was back then. I saw the, like GamePro TV or whatever it was, having a feature on this upcoming game called Shenmue, and I didn't have a Dreamcast. But that really made me want to get a Dreamcast, because I'm watching this unfold, and I'm like, wow, this looks like you can go anywhere. You can do these things. You have cool fighting. There's like a cool story to it.
I was okay with getting a job.
Yeah,
You're the forklift operator.
Yeah.
just doing my job.
Yeah.
Our honest day's work.
That game taught me a lot about work, because I didn't realize, like, once you get done with work early, you still have to sit there for like 6 hours. So like I remember I was like waiting time pass by, because you're just lifting crates all over the warehouses. It's like, damn. And I realized, like, when I started work, he's like, oh, so yeah, it doesn't matter how quickly you get work done, you still have to be there.
Yeah, just it looked so cool. It looked so splendid. It looked like everything that I wanted in a video game for the first time. And so I felt like it had to be on this list, and it had to be, at least number 12.
Yeah, I think it's a good
I
spot.
think it was a little low for you there, Don.
It is, yeah. I had a hard time putting that in there. Like, I probably would put it, I almost thought I should put it above my next one, but the next one, I'll get to it. But it's just massive compared to Shenmue.
That next
I
one,
love
yes.
Shenmue. Yeah,
I think it speaks to the playtime.
that too. Especially
It was
that,
quietly
yeah.
influential, because not a lot of people had a Dreamcast.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. And I think that's the thing. Is like, if it was, let's say if it was like a PS2 native game or exclusive, it would be so much more revered nowadays. But I think it's just, it's hard to play nowadays because it's a 25-year-old game.
What they brought it out recently. Well, I mean, that's probably
They have the
right.
remasters.
Because I did beat it.
Isn't it together with 2?
It
1
is.
and
So
2?
so Shenmue. So here's what sucks is when Shenmue 2 came out, it actually didn't even make it to the States. It was only in Europe and Japan. They never released that version
that's right.
here. It wasn't until it was ported on the Xbox, which was surprising as hell that it got on there, that it came out. But they did do a remaster which has Shenmue 1 and 2. And then Shenmue 3, which was, I still have to play it, which was a surprise. It was a Kickstarter project, which no one expected that to be resurrected. Like, they just assumed it was going to be dead with 1 and 2. And I remember Yu Suzuki had originally wanted this to be like 17 chapters, which seemed like such a ridiculous thing to try to go for. And unfortunately, like with the Dreamcast dying and whatnot, it's like, well, they stopped at 2 until 3 came out in 2018, wherever the hell it was. Yeah.
He wanted to be the next Final Fantasy?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I think he thought it had that much legs.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, Ducey, your next choice.
My next choice is a definite classic.
Oh,
and
yes, it is.
That is Zelda Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. I put this above some others we'll probably talk about. There's, Breath of the Wild recently, and definitely Ocarina of Time. But I don't know. I feel like Link to the Past is just the most accessible for me, and I've definitely played it the most and replayed it. It's almost as much as Super Metroid. Like, I played it when it came out for Game Boy Advance. I played it when it came out for the Switch Online app, and then when it came out for the Game Boy Advance Switch Online app. I'll go back and pick up and play this as much as, like I said, Super Metroid. Like, it really introduced, I think, modern Zelda to games. Like, Zelda, the original, was very open world, which is what Breath of the Wild kind of became. Zelda 2 was a crazy departure, which is probably good for its own thing, but it didn't really influence a lot. And then Link to the Past came out, where you have, the 3 dungeons first. You get a Master Sword. You go into a different type of world. 8 more dungeons. Each dungeon leads to the next one. And, they did that all the way probably until like some of the DS ones. I don't know if Minish Cap and stuff like that.
Still think they had most of the format. This
Wow.
thing is, I feel like most of the format was there. It's just it may not be as succinct as like getting the 3 dungeons and going to 8. But it still followed that like get your beginner dungeons so to speak, and you get to the bigger ones. Yeah.
I feel like even Skyward Sword had like beginner dungeons and then later ones,
Yeah.
and then Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom changed it up. But for the longest time, if you thought Zelda, you thought Link to the Past. This is what it created.
Yeah, that game for me is also very timeless because it still looks gorgeous. It sounds amazing. And yeah, it's one of those comfort games we talked about in the last episode where it's like, you may not be in the mood to play much, but you're probably going to be in the mood to play Zelda or Link to the Past, I should say, because you just pick up, play it. It just feels good to play every single time. Yeah. The next one on my list, and I put it here because I said this was hard to nudge out Shenmue, but it's Pokemon. And more specifically for me, Blue, because that's the one that I got when it came out. So when this game came out, I remember reading all the hype in Nintendo Power because I had a subscription just like you did, Ducey. And, my buddy was also into it. He's like, yeah, we got to check out Pokemon. You got Pokemon Red. And as soon as I got this game, the hook is instantaneous where you have a choice of 3 starter Pokemon, which are different basically elements, different abilities. And then you're basically thrown out in this open world, as open it can be on the Game Boy, to go find more of these pocket monsters to capture, train, level up, build your party up, and fight. Ultimately, go to these different gyms to knock out other trainers on there. And I look at this game now, and it's had so many sequels. The trading card game is just bananas still. Like I was just at the game store last week, and they're talking about how there was people waiting outside in line at 5 a.m. to get these cards. And this game has made so much money. It's influenced so many collectathon RPGs. Just the sense of discovery you have of roaming around like some grass,
yeah,
right? Just to find out what you might find in there. Like it could be a totally new Pokemon, and then you might take care of them. You might kind of grow with them in a sense, and then you find out they can evolve to other forms. And you could choose to evolve them or not. And this game, it's sort of tendrils have just extended for the last 26 years. It's just the longevity of Pokemon just blows my mind every time I think about it.
I mean, I'm still playing versions of it to this day. Like, I never finished the original. I've never finished any Pokemon game.
I finished the first game.
One.
Yeah.
A lot. And I didn't collect all 151. I did. I did discover on my own without the internet the Missing Go.
Oh, Missing Note, yeah.
Missing Note, and I told him how to get it, and everyone thought that the game was breaking or something. Like, why'd you do that? The game's gonna break. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah, I will say,
it's a big glass cannon.
I did technically cheat to get Mew because he wasn't obtainable normally. I think you could do it through like Toys R Us or something. But I used Game Genie to get Mew.
You could also, I think you could mail it into Nintendo.
Oh, is that what it was?
There was a Nintendo Power thing that
That's so funny.
They advertised.
Mail out your car.
But like, I mean, I'll still play Pokemon Arceus. I loved that when it came out. It was like truly open world now.
I love that one. I need to finish it. Yeah.
My wife played the hell out of Pokemon Violet. She just like start to finish nonstop on that one. And then we both still go out and play some Pokemon Go from time to time.
Oh yeah, I even touched on because I never played Pokemon Go, but yeah, look how big of a phenomenon that game is. And that came out, was it 2016? I think. 2017,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and like God, it's just the extent of this game, and even again, like it's more live servicing now, but it's influenced so many different RPGs and these collectathon Pocket Monster kind of formats. And again, it's a handheld adventure. Like it's a huge handheld game.
Yeah,
and it's perfect for the Game Boy. And of course, now it's on the Switch and everything else. So I feel like I had to get some Pokemon representation on this list.
For sure.
With everything on my list, it's hard to put it on.
I was very close to putting it on mine as well.
It's a fantastic.
It's kind of hard to ignore how big of a phenomenon that was.
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, it blows my mind every time I go into a store. I'm like, there's new Pokemon stuff, and there's kids now who are just like all into it. And there's like 1,000 whatever is Pokemon now. I don't know. I know the 151. That's my OG.
I've learned a lot more thanks to Pokemon Go, and I'll be like, oh, but I don't remember specific generations.
Yeah, exactly. Me neither. Yeah. All right, Randy, next one on your list.
All right, next one. We said we were going to talk about it.
Yes, we did. I'm glad you put this because I felt bad for knocking it off my list for Shenmue.
All right. Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, perfect. Now we can talk about it. We're talking about Halo 2.
Yes.
What more can be said about this? Everything that he said about Halo applies to this, but also there's online gameplay. This was the first game I can recall that I was able to sit down and be on my headset across the country, play with you guys, and just have a great time. It wasn't the first time I played like an online shooter multiplayer or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was the first one that I could do from my couch.
Actually, it might be the first time I played an online shooter.
I think for me it was Star Siege Tribes or like Unreal
Well,
Tournament.
yeah,
or
I
something.
had played Quake 3 back in the day, and in Unreal, right, Unreal Tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I had that experience, but there was no community sort of feeling to it, right?
You didn't have your headset on.
Yeah, the whole advent of Xbox Live is the fact that you had a headset. You didn't have parties back then, but you get in a party in Halo 2 and talk with your buddies while you're blasting each other, right?
Yeah.
That was really the big thing about it. And like, yeah, God, the amount of hours we spent playing Halo 2, whether it's local, where we did 16-player LAN, or online, it's just incalculable. This was a massive game when it came out.
Yeah,
and now
this
everything
is what made Xbox Live like the king of like
Exactly.
the online services.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what solidified Xbox Live as like the future of online gaming. And that's what it did, because PSN had been out, but the infrastructure was way worse on PS2 than it was on Xbox Live.
Didn't you need like an
It
extra
honestly
adapter?
didn't feel
You
like
needed
it
a
was
broadband adapter you had to buy for PS2.
It genuinely didn't feel like it was until the PS4 that their online
I'd
finally
agree.
got to Xbox's level.
I'd agree. Like
'Cause
PS3 was rough.
3 was very rough. Not only was it felt like so many times all right, I'm gonna sit down and play this game. Oh, I gotta download an update that's gonna last 3
Yeah,
hours.
exactly.
Or
Yeah.
oh, there is no PlayStation Network for this month or so
Mm-hmm.
because of a hack.
Someone got hacked. Yeah.
But never happened on Xbox, and so Halo 2 was always there. for
It
you.
was, and again, like it had a matchmaking service where it would sort of match you with people of similar skill levels, right? But really, the reason console online gaming is the point it's at is because of Halo 2 and Xbox Live. Halo 2 probably sold more Xbox Live packages more than anything else because
It even sold faster internet because
you needed broadband.
I convinced my dad, like, hey, we probably need some quicker internet.
Yeah.
We gotta step it up. And oh, by the way, I'll also plug my Xbox into this.
You had to get DSL or cable. I had to learn what a router was. 'Cause,
Yeah.
that was the thing then. But yeah, it's just this game. I think it's a perfect choice because you can't understate what it did for online gaming, for even LAN gaming on the console space. This was not. You did not have these experiences before the Xbox. All right, Ducey, your next choice.
My next one, also classic, probably might be my oldest game on here, but it was the top of my NES list decades ago when we started this podcast. It's Super Mario Brothers 3.
This is a great one.
I kind of went back and forth on this one because I thought about Mario World, but I don't know. I just had a lot more memories with Mario 3. I just loved all of the extra suits you could get. It took Mario 1 and opened it up into this semi-open world where you got to choose your levels on the map. You didn't even have to play all the levels if you didn't want to. It introduced me to secrets like finding the warp whistles.
Yeah, and the P-wings flying off in the nowhere.
Oh man, those are great to
Yeah.
skip the sun levels. You just took a P-wing in there. I don't know if I talked about this way back then, but I kind of learned to read thanks to the strategy guide for Mario 3.
That's pretty funny.
Like one of my earliest memories of reading was like looking at the pictures and everything, and then I started reading the boss descriptions. And even I think my mom noticed, and she was like, "Wait, did you just read that?"
Sound it out, Mamma Mia.
Yeah. So like, I mean, this game I would say also influenced like all the future Mario side scroller games. Like, look at you choosing your levels on the Mario 3D Worlds, Mario 3D Lands, the new Mario Worlds. It used all the Koopalings from there. It just introduced so much to future Mario games.
And also the variety of each world too, because that was the thing that was very distinct over Mario 1 and even 2, right? Is each world in Mario 3 had a distinct look to it. Like you had the desert land, you had Small Big World, whatever the hell it was called, where
Giant Land or something
Giant
like that.
Land, yeah, where you're tiny Mario with these giant Goomba sprites and everything.
Yeah.
Like everything, those are all memorable for certain reasons, and that would definitely influence platformers till now. Like a lot of games are mimicking what Mario 3 did.
It's a pretty consensus like number one Nintendo game for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Yeah, for great
Yeah.
reason. I mean, my gameplay of it was a lot more limited because we didn't own it. So I would play it at a friend's house or something like that. No, we didn't own it, but I did see the Wizard in theaters where they revealed it, and my parents still didn't buy it for me. I think I mentioned that before. How could you do that?
So you
But
need to
you-
watch The
How
Wizard
could you do
again.
that?
But you knew that any friend might have it, so you could play it there.
Yeah, I feel like every one of my friends I knew at the time had Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
Except maybe Randy, apparently.
Yeah,
I didn't know
we
you
got
back
a
then.
Sega Genesis not that long after, so
Yeah.
that might be why.
That's also true, yeah, because this was like 90, and yeah, some people had graduated, so to speak, to the Genesis.
I still remember, it's one of the first game commercials I can remember where, everybody's out there, like standing outside, looking up to the sky, wearing different colored T-shirts, and then when they zoom out, it's Mario's face across all of America.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the next one on my list, we did a whole episode about this back in October of 2024, which means you should go back and listen to it because of how much I love this game and also how much Ducey ends up loving this game. It's Castlevania Symphony of the Night. The reason I put this one on here specifically is because this is sort of the point where we had two different series that sort of combined and made its own genre. So Castlevania was really just a side-scrolling previous to this throughout, from the Nintendo to the Genesis and whatnot, even the Game Boy. But Castlevania Symphony of the Night is when they took influence from Metroid and Super Metroid, and now they've coined a whole genre called Metroidvanias. And I don't know how much more influential you can get than that, than creating an entire genre that still to this day has games released almost every other week. There's some sort of Metroidvania that's out, whether it's a roguelike Metroidvania, a Metroidvania like there's Axiom Verge, there's Grime, there's countless games that have copied this format of a non-linear. Hollow Knight is a huge one.
Yeah.
This non-linear format where you can progress to a certain point, you might have to backtrack to get an ability to go through, and you have a whole bunch of weapons to collect, and you have all these different environments in this contained castle. And I feel like I had to put this because, again, like it created its own genre, sort of subgenre that's still prevalent today. And while it took influences from Metroid, it really just made its own separate thing that I would say even like Metroid Dread or some of the other Metroid games still have some influences from Castlevania in some instances.
Yeah, Metroid Dread finally used the little warping system.
Yeah, right. So it's interesting that those two series, despite how disparate and different they were at the time, now they're known for being one together, right? Like Castlevania still does Metroidvania stuff more than anything else.
You know what's weird that I haven't seen yet is, randomizers are a big thing now, especially for Metroid, but they'll combine it with Zelda. Like a Metroid Zelda randomizer. I've never really seen a Metroid and a Castlevania combination randomizer.
That would be really badass.
Yeah.
We have to look and see if someone's done it because maybe it just does exist and no one's really talked about it. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. I would play the hell out of that one. All right, Randy, the next one on your list. We're breaking into the top 10 here.
All right, at number 10, maybe like the granddaddy of real-time strategy.
Oh, yeah.
I got Command and Conquer. This game, when I first, I think I rented it. I want to say I rented it maybe on the Sega Saturn. It was obviously much better on PC. And we ultimately later on got like the Command and Conquer collection on PC because of how much we really enjoyed this game on the Saturn, even though it's harder to do with a controller than a mouse. But, it was one of those games where like at first, I pick it up and I'm like, I don't know what to do. You don't really understand the concept here, but slowly, like, you figure out, okay, I need to put this down, and then if I build a power plant, then I can make some barracks. So when I have some barracks, I can make some people. Then I can send these people over there. And, I really, really, like, instantly started to love that whole genre of games, which was a completely new genre to me. And there's obviously had a lot of influence. There's been several Command and Conquer's sequels. There's been Red Alert.
StarCraft, that's
There's
a big one.
StarCraft.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Age of Empires.
Yeah, Age of Empires, big time. Age of Empires 2 especially is just a phenomenal game.
I even played, and my mom played a Star Trek version of this called Star Trek New Worlds.
Yeah, and there's a Star Wars one.
Too.
Empire War, I think it was called, something like that. Yeah, Halo Wars.
And they are all basically Command and Conquer.
Yep.
They might have a little flourishes of their own flavor and everything in there, but the bones of it is Command and Conquer.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good choice. I'm glad we have you on the show because PC is more or less a blind spot for the era back then because I didn't really have a PC I could use too often. And
we didn't either. But Command and Conquer wasn't a demanding game.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was. It's just I couldn't really play I played like Quake and whatnot. And there's some representation that we wish you could have put on here like World of Warcraft, but we just don't have much experience for it. So that's not to say we don't think those games aren't influential. It's just we don't have much experience to really speak to them as much.
The extent of my PC was SimCity 3000, NASCAR racing, like I said, The Sims, and then Rainbow Six too.
Oh yeah,
I loved it.
God.
Like that was, but I didn't have the best graphics cards or anything, so a lot of those were played on lower levels.
Exactly, same for me.
You didn't get the full experience that you do these days.
So Command and Conquer, excuse me, fantastic choice.
Man, they could do a Contra Command and Conquer.
I would love that. Actually, I'd be all over that. They did Metal Slug Tactics. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Ducey, your next choice.
Oh, my next choice. We're breaking into the top 10, and this had to be in my top 10 somewhere.
Yeah.
But we've already talked about it a little. It's Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
I chose this because I mean, for everything that Randy said about it in his, but on top of that, it influenced me to get a PlayStation. Like
My PlayStation,
Yeah.
actually.
So how could I not put this on this list? It was just like it was my introduction into survival horror, and it was basically what all survival horror games wanted to be after it came out.
Yeah.
Except for the zapping system. I wish more games did that.
I really wish. I mean, there's a lot of game mechanics I wish games would rip off. And for God's sake, somebody out there, please rip off the zapping system like this. Yeah. That one, I think we both put that number 1 on our list, right? For top 10 RE games back then?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
again, go check out that episode. That's way back. It was like
I would have
episode
had it
7
at
or
number
something.
2, but that's okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't on that one, so maybe we'll do like
I know. I'm saying I would have.
we'll do a remake of
would
that
your
list.
would your number 1 have
It would
been
have been 4.
Yeah. Which
yeah,
is
fair.
also
Yeah, that's my
It's
brother's
just
number 1.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I think I had that like.
But if
2
I
or
had the
something.
same Resident Evil 2 memories that you did back then, it might be different.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Yeah. Next one on my list, again, maybe one that some might consider a little too low, but it's the original Super Mario Brothers.
Wow.
This game, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
top
like,
10.
Yeah, it's in the top 10, and it's, you might put it higher, but again, like, I kind of look at these things at some of the longer tail and how the other games on this list impacted gaming and are still impacting gaming. But Mario Brothers, I mean, my God, what more can you say about that? Like that, everyone remembers World 1-1, the jingle you hear at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And how many games after that tried to be that same platform? There were countless on the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, Genesis. Everyone wanted to get that success that Mario brought because, the gaming industry had crashed and, arcades were getting bigger. Nintendo was there sort of at the right place, right time between having the Nintendo in Japan and then releasing it here. And, there's going to be arguments on whether or not it saved the gaming industry or not. It doesn't really matter. The point is they made a home system bundled with Super Mario Brothers, and everyone wanted that freaking game.
How could there be arguments about it saving it? I mean, it definitely did in America. Which
It did, but I think there's arguments for like other factors that played in. Like I think people are contentious with it being the sole reason it was saved, right? Which you can argue too, because there's always going to be other variables.
I'm pretty
that
sure
play.
it's the sole reason in America, which then fed back into Japan sales and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is bar none one of the most influential games of all times because a lot of game developers now and in the past got into game development or gaming because of this game. Like there was a moment where the Mario & Rabbids developer, he was getting an award, at some award show. I don't know if it was Game Awards or whatever. It was presented by Shigeru Miyamoto, and this guy was bawling his eyes out because he was like the director or whatever on the Mario & Rabbids game, and now the creator of Mario is presenting him with an award, right?
Yeah.
So that tells you the significance of this game for people is that this guy probably grew up, he was 6, 7, whatever, like us, playing through Mario, and now he's on stage being presented with an award from the guy who inspired him. So this game, you could argue where it could be placed. I would say if you put it number 1, that's absolutely valid. But I cannot understate how big of an influence this game has on gaming since then. All right, Randall, your next choice.
My next choice is the sequel. It's a sequel, but it's in contention for greatest game ever made. We're going to talk about Mass Effect 2.
I love this game.
I love
so
this
much.
game. I love this series. This is the strongest of the series. I feel that maybe it's not as influential as it is, where I have it on the list, because I don't think anything's really gotten to that yet. Because I was never really an RPG guy, but the combat in this was good. I think I was just not a turn-based guy.
It was more action-oriented in this more than
This
anything.
was a lot
Yeah,
more of
yeah.
an action-oriented game. It had a fantastic story. The story of this is amazing. This is the series that like my mom has played through multiple times because she's a sci-fi nerd too. So she loves doing that. And just I remember that first time playing Mass Effect 2, and you get sucked in for hours and hours and hours.
Well, I can
just
say
doing loyalty missions, doing anything there is, and just hoping that this is the future of video games, because this is what it needs to be.
I can tell you that. So I played through this back then, and then when they did the remasters, I played through them back to back, like within a couple weeks.
Same.
And it's one of my favorite experiences ever. All 3 games, and you can argue the flaws of 1 and 3, whatever. I don't care. But 2 is like the pinnacle of the series. It's one of the greatest sequels ever. But one of the most memorable parts of this game is when you first land on Omega. And, in 2000, God, when did it come out? 2008, 2009, wherever it was. Back then, that's really when it felt like you're in this literal, sort of like sci-fi opera where you land in Omega. It's always like this club vibe in there, and like you land in Normandy there, and like it just feels like you're immersed in this world in space, like the emptiness of space, and you land on this planet and you meet like the broker, whoever it was, and that really sets the tone for the whole game because every environment you land in, you don't know what you're getting into. There's a lot at risk with the story with Shepard and what were the bad guys called? The
Reapers.
The Reapers, right? So it just felt like a huge space adventure with a story and all the characters that tied into it. This, I'm a little sad I didn't put it on my list, right? Yeah. But this is easily one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah, my only complaint is that I wish it influenced more games to be as good as that.
Yeah.
I wish I could put it somewhere on my list too because I put it as far as like sci-fi worlds. I put it up there with my love of Star Trek, my love of Stargate, even, and Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah. It feels like a Star Trek game.
Yeah,
kind of.
And all it is just 3 games. I mean, you could say Andromeda is in there too, but it didn't really.
I don't think it's totally related to the original 3.
No,
it's good. It's still a solid game.
But I just really enjoyed this game, and I think it did influence some things. Like, there's rumors that Outer Worlds 2 is going to incorporate some of the we'll reach back into your save file from Outer Worlds and incorporate that into the story pieces. Maybe not to the extent of like continuing missions, but just recalling what you did.
Yeah.
And I also think it influenced you recently played Dragon Age.
That is absolutely what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Dragon Age Veilguard, which I love that game so much. It was one of my big surprises, and that game you could tell is influenced by Mass Effect, like just by the fact you're going off trying to help you recruit companions, and you go see through their sort of side quests and stories, all their stories that relate to the main story, and sort of tell you more about the character as well. So yeah, it's absolutely influenced Dragon Age of Veilguard, which you can now borrow, Mindy, because I finished it.
Yeah, but I'm also juggling like, what else do I want to borrow from Donnywood Video? Yeah. Silent Hill 2, there's even Alan Wake 2. The world is my oyster when I'm here.
It really is, yeah. But nonetheless, Mass Effect 2, amazing choice, and truly worthy of one of the most influential games of all time. Ducey, your next choice, which another is a big one for me.
And another sequel. Here we go.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. This is November 2001.
I thought about putting the original, but then I just realized that the sequel, I think I replayed more often than the first. And it just took everything the first did and made it better, like easier to play. And this is Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
I quickly got over the fact that it was a bait and switch with, Solid Snake, because you played as him in the demo, and then all of a sudden you're Raiden.
You're like, who the hell's Raiden?
What is this? But you're like, whatever. The controls are all the same, and the story is great. And yeah, I even feel like I understood the story more when I was younger than a lot of people did. But that also probably came from a ton of replays because I definitely did not get it on the first play.
Most people didn't. I think that, and it's funny because I'd read reviews about this. I went back pretty recently after we talked about it and read reviews. And it's really funny how dismissive people are of the story. And I think part of it is because the review people in the magazines, they had to rush through this game to get a review out, right? So they probably just crapped on the story, dismissed it as something that's just cobbled together in a mess. But with hindsight, granted it's 24 years later, you can really see just how rich the story is, and to me, in a lot of ways, how prescient it is in some of the times we live. How
prophetic.
Yeah.
I love the story. Now, all of the Metal Gear Solid games, the story is heavily convoluted.
Yeah.
But that's the charm of them. Like, you get fully invested into this. This was a game that when I would play it, like, my mom would be, like, in the kitchen or something, and she'd hear, and she's like, "Oh, are you starting it?" And then she'd come out and watch because some of the cutscenes were so good. The moments, like, between, like, Hal and EE, and, like, when Vamp kills her and that whole thing, and it's just this, like, heartbreaking movie moment.
Yeah.
And this game was just a long series of that.
One of my favorite parts
gameplay in between
is when you're facing Vamp, or you're out on the rig itself, and then the Harrier comes in.
Oh yes,
and you're introduced to Solidus for the first time. You're like, oh, there's a third Snake, and then Snake comes back into the game and kind of reveals who he is, and you're like, yes, now we're going.
Yeah, that's that moment. You're like, Iroquois Pliskin, I saw right through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game, It's one of my favorites of all time for good reason. And again, like the story, seeing this as a 40-year-old versus, what was I then, 16? It's wild to me that, he kind of pauses this idea of mass disinformation permeating through society, just unchecked information through AI and everything. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
2025 with, all the social media and this and that. What?
We're kicking off the year in honor of
wild.
Metal Gear.
It's wild. So,
and I don't even have nano machines to feel better.
Exactly.
About
Yeah, right?
It's wild. And then I will say too, one thing, a big thing about this thing is that Kojima did take a huge risk with the sort of misguiding people into who Raiden was, because if you remember, and even magazines didn't even talk about it.
No,
they always showed the tanker is always Snake. There was a purposeful deception of what the game was going to be, and you got a slice of this game in that demo with Zone of the Enders, which I guarantee you, I love Zone of the Enders, but I guarantee you most people bought Zone of the Enders because of the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo.
Yep.
And that demo was the ultimate playground at the time, because you get down to things where like you shoot an ice bucket and shoot the individual ice cubes with a trank gun. You can shoot magazines. Like the level of detail was unlike anything in any, whether it's PC or console at the time. And you play the game and you have all the deception of Raiden and everything like that, and the story that unfolds. And yeah, it might seem like it's crazy and out there, but then when you really sort of dissect the story, like, holy crap, there's something really amazing under all this.
Yeah, I got over the fact that you play as Raiden really quickly.
I didn't mind. Like, I was like, okay, that sucks. But
also, I knew it was going to happen. I was told, like, when I was reading, like, a review of the game and they didn't want to spoil anything, they're like, we're not going to make any spoilers at all.
Yeah.
They're like, but also do yourself a favor and don't open the instruction manual. Like, I'm going to do that on the ride home from the store.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking, and I'm like, who's this Raiden guy?
Yeah.
Like, but thematically, it had to be him. Mm-hmm. Snake knows too much.
Yeah.
And you need to be in the shoes of the person who's discovering what's happening.
And that's the idea, because I actually was listening to a podcast that analyzed Metal Gear Solid 2, and that's one of the things that in the document Metal Gear Solid 2, which is this DVD they released, I have it. It's just a making of documentary at the time.
Nice.
But they talk about how Kojima was saying, like, Solid Snake is this badass espionage, soldier. It's like we wanted to tell a Snake story from an objective view, which is why you play as Raiden. You see how Snake and his story unfolds in that regard. So it's like, I see that too. I get it now, but I can understand being, I was younger, I was like, yeah, that sucks, you're playing as Raiden, why people would be so upset. But I think, again, like, people are just being brash about things. I think this game is much more fondly loved now. And you have so many games nowadays try to capture this narrative storytelling and the cinematic features of it, right? And they try to have these really complex stories, some hit or miss.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear Solid 2 did it first, way back in 2001.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the Metal Gear Solid that I played through the most as well, because I didn't own or at the time I didn't have the original Metal Gear Solid anymore. So a sick day meant, let's see how quickly I can get through this entire story. Let's see if I can do it without taking any rations.
All right, the next one on my list is a big racing series I think is influential, Gran Turismo. And you mentioned 3 and 4, but when this game came out, it was the first real huge racing sim I got into, and also my dad got into it because he was all into cars and being a mechanic and whatnot. And this game was like the ultimate driving simulator, where it really tried to...
I think that's its subtitle.
That's literally what... Yeah, it was like something ultimate driving simulator, where it tried to emulate the feeling of driving a car, and it really tried to capture car enthusiasts' attention, right? Because this is what it was for. It was like a game designed for car enthusiasts. And since then, like, we've had tons of car sims, but Gran Turismo was one that said, like, we have, what it was, 160 cars. We have all these manufacturers. We have license tests.
They went out and recorded, like, each individual car's noise.
Yeah, so this was, like, the most attentive to detail racing game ever made at that point. And, NASCAR may have been the one that did, like, a lot of the racing sim previous to this, but it's like, this is when it was really just mainstream, because everyone had a PS1 at the time, and Gran Turismo would become the influence, like, like Forza is like the biggest thing next to it, right? It's Xbox's baby. But it's really Gran Turismo and Forza. Those are the two biggest racing sims that still exist today. All right, Randall, your next choice.
All right, my next choice might be a surprise for a lot of our listeners, and this is Max Payne.
I really like this game.
Yeah, it's a great game. I don't think people are going to say it's a bad game, or they're going to ask, like, what do you mean it was influential? Well, there's about 3 reasons why. So, you know how in most games now you use the 2 sticks to move? Mm-hmm. I don't remember doing that before Max Payne. Mm-hmm. There might have been some stuff beforehand, but it was a new concept. So at first it was a struggle, because you're moving around, and you got the other stick, and then you're like, I guess I'm gonna use this to pull the trigger. So control wise, it influenced how these games should be played. Next up, you've got the whole bullet time thing. At a moment's notice, turning the game into a John Woo movie was just so cool.
Or in the Matrix at the time. That was also popular at the time.
Yeah, exactly. I know they wanted it because of like the John Woo stuff, and they call it bullet time because of the Matrix. And taking it over to a friend's house, because I owned it, so I would take it over there when we'd all have a sleepover, and it was the same thing. I would see them kind of struggle a little bit with the controls, but then once they kind of wrapped their head around it and started moving and started diving in the bullet times, and everyone was just having a blast. And then the third reason why is because this was like the kickstart of you can make really gritty and adult themed games.
Yeah, gritty noir. Yeah, I love gritty noir.
I do too, and I thought this did a great job of it. I don't think I beat it. I think I got stuck on that.
It got pretty hard.
I think I got stuck on that whole like dream sequence where you're like jumping through bridges of blood.
Yep.
And I don't remember if I just kind of gave up because I'm like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to go anymore.
Yeah. I admittedly never beat 1 or 2, but I did beat 3 because that was a fantastic
good.
game. Yeah, I wish that would get a remaster.
A lot of people don't like it as much because it doesn't have the same aesthetic as the first two.
No, I love it. I think it's underrated.
No,
for sure.
I think it's a phenomenal game.
The first game was a massive deal too when it came out. I remember that was like my buddy had a PC, luckily, and he was able to play it. And I was like, oh my god, it's just like the Matrix, like with the slow mo, like dodging around with the dual wielding pistols and everything. It was amazing.
Yeah, Max Payne prepared the world for what was to come very soon thereafter from Rockstar.
Yeah, that's very true. And they were Rockstar. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All right, do you see your next choice? This is a great series too.
My next choice is huge.
It is.
Probably the number one series I played on PC, and that's The Sims. I put the first one on here, but it just sort of encompasses every Sims that's ever come out, because Sims 2, Sims 3, it's basically a reset, and then they release the same expansion packs that they did the previous version. You just have, more stuff added on to it that really simulates life. But I don't know, I don't know why, but even back then I would just put this on and get lost in the world, creating houses, never fully playing through to like anybody's end of their career or anything. I would just create somebody else that's new and make a whole new house. There was a point where my mom would find like blueprints of houses out on the market and then just create them in the game. I think I might have even made my own house at one point. It was just so much fun. And there was even the time where I got it on GameCube and you came over and we did co-op and lost an entire day. We still don't remember how we passed so many hours in one game.
I remember we had lunch and all of a sudden it was like 5 o'clock. I was like, oh, I gotta go home.
Yeah.
What happened? I thought we were playing other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I figured that was gonna go on your list at some point.
I can still pick it up and play it today. I have Sims 4 on my Xbox right now, and there's a ton of expansions that I've missed, but I've put some key ones in there, and it's still just so fun.
Yeah, and it's free to play now, I think, too. Sims 4, I think they converted
Yeah,
it
I
to free
think
to
so.
play, right? Something like that.
I had the original one on PC, and I had my fun with it. I had a lot of fun with it. My sister got very into it, so she would buy all the expansion packs and everything.
Yeah, this game, I think, above all else, it popularized making accessible games for a lot of people, because there's a lot of gamers who, I don't want to say them gamers, but there's a lot of people who may not play games to begin with, but they could get into The Sims, because there's no real fail state. Like, you have silly things happen where like your sim might die, or I think it was like death would come by or something. Is that was a thing, right?
Yep.
So it has like silly gimmicks like that. But again, it's like you said, it's an offshoot of SimCity, where that was more of like a macro view of like managing a city. And this is like, no, you're managing people and like their little small lives. Like, make sure they go to the bathroom, make sure they eat.
Yeah.
All the things that you do in your personal life, but now you're controlling someone else without really the consequences of adulting.
And you can totally create just countless stories. The game came with preloaded families, and they had their own stories to tell. And then in each sequel, like generations of that family would be preloaded in there. So it was like continuing the story if you played as them in the earlier games. But you didn't have to. You could make your own, obviously, and they would interact with everybody. Yeah,
this is a great series. Fantastic choice on there, Ducey. Next one on my list, another big one for a lot of people, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64. Essentially what you said about Link to the Past, Ducey, I think applies to Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
for me, when this game came out, I've mentioned before where, you know, I wasn't so hyped about it when it came out. But this game did influence 3D adventure games moving forward. Like, one of the biggest advents it had was the Z-Lock Z-targeting system.
As
where,
Nick mentioned.
Exactly, yeah, because the whole thing is that previous to this, like in a 3D space, 3D games were fairly new at the time. Combat being focused on one enemy was really hard. It was always unwieldy. The camera would be kind of goofy or whatever the case was. Like, it was just, we were in a primitive time with 3D games where it was hard to get fluid feeling combat. And Zelda Ocarina of Time introduced the Z targeting where you would hold the Z button and it would focus on that one enemy. Like, the camera would pan across on all around that. And then on top of that, it refined further the format of the 3 dungeons and then going to the 8th, because now you had the power of the N64, so everything's much more rich, much more vibrant. You have a vast open world with Hyrule, which, granted, today feels much more smaller than it did back in '98. But back then, that was the ultimate adventure where it's like you really felt like you were Link going on this adventure to save Zelda and fight Ganon.
It still feels large when you have to do it on foot.
It does, yeah. When you have Epona, yeah. And also, I want to shout, because this game has one of the best tutorial levels, so to speak, ever, with the Deku Tree, where you sort of are encouraged to find ways to traverse the world. Like, one of the biggest things to remember is when you have to get through the webbing, right? And like, you could find out that you've taken a Deku stick, light it on fire, and it burns webbing, right? So it has that level of immersion where it gives you all these tools to solve problems that are in the world that you may not really realize it, but then once the game kind of nudges you in that direction, it's like, yeah, this is a much more intuitive game, and like, there's certain ways you could solve puzzles versus just go to the switch, pull on it, go to the switch, or just step on it, right?
One of my favorite things that I learned in that game, and other games luckily incorporated it, was you wanted a fire arrow, but you didn't have them yet. You could shoot an arrow through a candle,
right, yeah,
through a torch, and still light something on fire. Yeah,
because you're going first person, maybe you see a web or something, or a skulltula, and you want to, you could shoot the arrow through the fire and it would become a flame arrow. So it's stuff like that where a lot of games after the fact would do that too, right? Where it's like you can kind of use these things in the environment to solve puzzles in the world. And I think Ocarina of Time is like the best example of that. And I guarantee there's a ton of games now that would mark Ocarina of Time as like the game that's influenced it in one way or another.
It felt like the first truly big 3D adventure game.
Yeah.
Like, obviously there's Mario 64 came before it. But this is a different game.
This is like an adventure.
It's not a platformer like Mario was. I just remember hearing so much hype about this, thinking there's no way it's that good.
Yeah,
because
that's how I felt.
For months, it had so much hype. It looked so cool. I wasn't a Zelda person at the time, really, because I didn't own the original, and I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but we did have a 64. So I rented it from Blockbuster. And I'm getting, like, immediately, I'm in. I'm hooked. And I'm getting in. I remember my dad comes home from work, and he kind of has a cursory glance at the screen. And, it's playing, like, the whole Deku Tree music and all that. And, you're just a little kid, and all these little things are bouncing around all happy. And he was just like, what are you doing? Like, it's like, it looks like it's a kid's game. I'm like, it looks like it, but it's really not. And so on and so forth. And eventually, I go to bed and all that. And then I remember getting up because I had to use the bathroom. I get up, I walk out, and it's like about 3 a.m, and my dad is zombied on the couch, just staring at the TV. And I was like, "Oh, did you try it?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm really addicted right now." And then so we had to take it back. And that very night when he came home from work, he came home with a copy of Ocarina of Time.
That's what happened to me. I had rented it like from the warehouse, which was one-day rentals. So I tried it, right? And I was like, "Oh, I have to get this." And I convinced my mom to go get it. We went to Electronics Boutique and got it. And then at that time, I was sad because I knew they had a pre-order for the gold cart. And by then, on release, it was only the gray card.
Yeah.
I got one later in life, but I was like, damn, I should have just pre-ordered this. Why did I think it wasn't good or whatever,
Like you mentioned with your mom coming in and watching Mass Effect 2, that was my mom with Ocarina of Time.
She played that a lot too.
She'd be like, if she heard me firing it up, she'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Yeah. I'm not ready yet. Don't you go to the next level yet?"
Oh man,
great game.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, Randall, your next choice.
All right, yeah, we're getting to the
we're getting there. We've been at it for a while, but I think this is a really great list.
Yeah, we really have, and I don't know how we're going to be able to be brief going forward because we're getting to the heavy hitters, the big guns, the golden gun. Talking about the other big N64 game, GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, my God.
Another one that I think I first played it at like the youth center or something like that. So you had the 4 controllers and 4 people playing, and it was just mind blowing because it was, I'd played a shooter before, but I don't remember playing a shooter multiplayer before, like not competitively,
Especially
And the
on
crazy-
console. Like we had two
Yeah.
players at most. We might have played 4-player on like on Bomberman, which was a rarity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a shooter.
But
Like,
but well, I mean, as far as like multiplayer, right?
Right,
But
right.
it's like GoldenEye was the first one. It's like all four of us are invested in this. We're all shooting each other.
And I mean, that was a big deal. It was massively popular. It was the game that everyone picked. Occasionally, someone might pick like WCW versus NWO, but but it was basically GoldenEye with the no odd job rule.
Yeah, and
To this day.
to this day, and also you can't dismiss the single player either, where it tried to recreate the events of the movie, which it did really, really well. But I've always loved that format in this game specifically, and really, I wish again another concept more games should rip off, where you have agent, secret agent, double O agents,
Yes.
and each level, depending on your difficulty, would change the objectives. So they would get a little bit more complex. You might have to go seek out things more, like you might have to destroy some alarms, and you have to go seek these out, like all over the world.
Yep.
And most games don't do that, but I mean, how much replayability did that have? And that's not even getting to the cheats that you can unlock by being the levels at a certain within
can
a certain
speedrun.
time
There was
limit.
a ton of replayability. Like I was saying, the multiplayer was an afterthought.
It was.
Yeah.
It was
They
just
added it
kind
after.
of shoved
yeah.
in because, like, why not? If we can do this, let's just throw it in there. Maybe people would like it, and people loved it. But that's not to discredit the single player, which was a fantastic shooter campaign.
Yeah, it was.
It's one of the best first-person shooter campaigns in gaming history.
It was
easily.
It was another generational leap. Like, you started out with Wolfenstein, Doom, and then GoldenEye, and then Halo, and then my next one, Call of Duty 4.
Here we go. We were even just talking about this before we recorded about the good old times with this one. Yes.
Before 4, Call of Duty was known as the World War II game, but there were so many World War II games. There was Medal of Honor. That was a great series. I liked the first one of that. I even played... I think I played Call of Duty 2 before I played 4, but I will say this influenced my perspective of online shooters. Mm-hmm. And this was what I would call personally the Halo killer.
It quite literally did kill Halo for us at that time.
Yeah, for a small time, because eventually Halo came back with 4 and
It
stuff
did,
like that.
yeah.
But Call of Duty 4 came out shortly after Halo 3, and I remember we did the midnight release of Halo 3, and then we played that for a little bit. We were playing the multiplayer, and all of a sudden the beta came out for Call of Duty 4, and nobody was playing Halo 3. Everybody somehow got on the beta. That was probably the first beta I've ever played. And then we couldn't wait for the release of this game. And as soon as it came out, yeah, Halo 3 got shelved.
Yeah,
It really did.
to this day, I don't think that it's been matched in terms of the consistency of the amount of people that we would have online partying.
Oh
to
my
play
god!
that.
Yeah.
No, everyone was on. We all. Rainey and I worked at Circuit City at the time. We had a lot of friends who were working there who were online with us. We had Ducey playing with us. We had like everyone we knew at some point throughout the night or day was rotating in or out of Call of
Yep.
Duty Modern Warfare. It was insane.
And just the leveling system that it introduced, like Halo 2 had the leveling where you would go up in rank, but if you lost, you went down so that you got matched a certain way. Whereas Call of Duty 4 taps into that part of your brain where you just want to hear the cha-ching, cha-ching, and you've unlocked something new, you've unlocked a new level, and now to this day, you're just unlocking skins for guns to make them look cooler.
Another thing that we shouldn't glaze over either is the kill streaks. That was a huge thing at the time. I don't recall any other game
That rewarded you.
that rewards you for getting a kill streak, where it's like you get successive kills and you could call in, like a cruise missile or something, or UAV, which would pop up blips on your mini map of where people were. Like that's what kept you going. Was like previous to this there was like arena shooters, GoldenEye and whatnot. Like GoldenEye had a problem with like screen looking, which you can avoid the time, right? But that was dismissed when
Just
you had
get good at
online
it.
play. Yeah, but with Call of Duty, like it rewards you for doing really well, and it gave you more tools to get that next kill streak up on the line on the next tier, right?
I will say we also should mention the solo campaign, because
Oh yeah, that was
was
really
so
great
good.
too. Yeah.
there was the level where you're in the helicopter and the bomb goes off. I mean, this was cinematic to the next degree, because Halo, we mentioned, kept things very concise, and you went checkpoint to checkpoint, and it was very like things were happening, but as you were going along. This one made it even more concise, and it was like you were playing a war movie or
It was
an
like
action movie.
Black Hawk. It seemed like it was taking a lot of influences from like Black Hawk Down and all those military movies from the time. I don't know
Yeah.
if Three Kings was out at the time. I think actually
Yeah,
it was way after.
it predates that.
It was way after that. Yeah. So it took again what Halo did with the scripted events and ramped those up to like 11.
Yeah.
Because now you're on a literal battlefield. Everything else, and then also the other level we can't gloss over is all gillied
Yeah,
up.
I was gonna say I was
Oh,
waiting
yeah.
for an all
Sniper
gillied
level,
up.
right? You got the gillies on, and you're supposed to go through all stealth, like kind of go through the bushes and whatnot. I remember there's at the end it culminates like this big fight at the cartwheel, or not the cartwheel. I'm sorry, is it
Ferris
the
wheel?
Ferris wheel?
Yeah.
At the cartwheel. Where this big battle at the Ferris wheel where you're waiting to be picked up and whatnot. But up until that point, you're taking out enemies from a distance with a sniper rifle. You got your, is it Soap, whoever it was?
Yeah,
your co-op
Soap's
buddy.
with you. I
Yeah,
think.
right. And he's almost like kind of guiding you through in a way. It's like, all right.
Oh no,
Well-
are you Soap and it's Captain Price? That's
Maybe.
It's one of
I think
those. I
it's
forget
that.
what it
I think
was.
that's
But
what
they
it is.
they talk you through how an actual sniping should go, because you have to take into account the wind and the range and everything. Whereas other games like Halo, point and click.
Yeah, exactly. So Call of Duty 4, for a multitude of reasons, should be an influential game, and it's still going strong today.
Yep.
A lot of shooters have taken kill streaks and the UAVs and the mini maps and all these sort of things that Call of Duty 4 introduced, and now they're running with it. Now it's like there's a billion online shooters.
It undoubtedly solidified Call of Duty as the king of online shooters.
I agree. As far as multiplayer console shooters, like this, as much as I mourn the death of arena shooters, it's because of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But it's good reason why. Like arena shooters for what they are. They get kind of derivative and they're straightforward, but
But they're due for a comeback.
they definitely are.
Yeah,
But I
I
just
I'm
think like the
hoping
market.
next Halo really
I hope so.
really gets it right.
I'm still hoping for like a new Quake game that isn't Quake Champions, because there's killers on there. But Call of Duty is a reason. Call of Duty is the reason that multiplayer shooters are the way they are, because everyone chases what's at the top of the chain. All right, guys. The next one on my list, another big one from 2001, October 2001. So we had Metal Gear Solid 2, we had Smash Bros. Melee, and then one game that I feel had a huge impact on open world games. It's Grand Theft Auto 3 for PS2. I can tell you that I'd seen the hype get drummed up for this game, and then my brother and I bought it. We convinced our mom to get it at Kmart. I remember the employee was trying to convince my mom not to get it for us because we were not 17.
Yeah, nowhere near it.
Nowhere near it, no, especially not my brother.
Not your brother.
Yeah, not my brother. But the significance of the open world game this was the ultimate sandbox at the time. There was nothing else that came close to it. You could hijack all the cars. It had this really great story that was really lengthy. That was pretty, it's really silly and satirical and whatnot, but it was still a story that was interesting enough where you would progress through it and go to all your checkpoints or complete all the missions to unlock, to basically get more money or more weapons. And you had the ultimate freedom to do whatever you wanted out there. There's a lot of activities like the rampages that are out there. Liberty City feels like a much smaller world than most open world games now, but every open world game has something to owe to Grand Theft Auto 3 in some way. There's a reason this game is like noted as like one of the most influential games of all time. It's because this game really said like, here's what you should be doing for open world games, and give players a free agency to do what they want, to immerse themselves in all these activities like the NPCs running around. This game is just it's dated now, but its influence just can't be understated across.
Like we mentioned earlier with Fortnite kind of influencing sometimes in the negative, I would say that this also has a downside, like the other side of the coin.
Of course.
Where
yeah.
like a lot of games became open world that didn't need to be.
I completely agree, because again, they're all trying to chase that big money, right? They're all trying to see like, well, Grand Theft Auto 3 is doing it, so
Yeah.
let's just turn this into an open world game. And a lot of instances it didn't work, and that's what happens. Some series died because they tried to be a little bit too ambitious and they failed miserably. But Grand Theft Auto 3 is like, it can work because Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 are these over the top, literal view, right? Over the top sprite based games, and they made this a fully big 3D world that you could freely explore and unlock even more of the section of the cities and everything. So this one, it's an easy shoe-in. I don't know where other people would place it. Like I feel like I have it pretty well at number 7 on mine, but I think
I would have even seen you putting like Vice City or something on there too.
Yeah, I mean Vice City is my favorite one for sure, but I feel like with the impact 3 had when it came out, and it was just like everywhere. Like everyone was trying to buy this game. Like it was sold out almost everywhere, if I recall correctly. Like it was hard to get this game for a little bit of time.
I can't even remember how I got it. I'm pretty sure I got it fairly easily though. It didn't matter the mature rating on there. I did get it pretty close after it launched, and I know I'd seen it at your house first.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd play with my brother and I, because this was like, like like I said, this time in 2001 was crazy because you had Grand Theft Auto 3, then you had Metal Gear Solid 2 with the Xbox launch and GameCube launch and all that stuff. So it's like all the time split between these games was insane. But it's like my brother just was drawn to GTA 3 the entire time. I'd be watching him the whole time. Yeah. All right, Randy, next one on your list.
All right. So the next one on my list influenced me and my family to get a PS1, and that was the original Metal Gear Solid. So this is one of my favorite game series, and it all stems from, the experience of playing this for the first time. My very first experience with it was going to a friend's house, and he was telling me about this crazy game. It's got a cool story, and he was telling me about this whole cybernetic ninja, and he loaded up where he was at, and he was at the torture scene.
Oh yeah.
And he was saying that you don't have to beat it, you can give up and blah blah blah. And he just kept failing and failing. And then I was like, well, why don't you just give up? He's like, no, because I want the infinite ammo and all that. And so he let me give it a shot, and I did beat it for him. But then ultimately, he was coming to stay the night another time, and so he brought his PlayStation with Metal Gear Solid. So it was him, myself, and my dad were all taking turns playing this game, and I just absolutely loved this game from top to bottom. It was the first truly cinematic game that I had ever played. Like the voice acting was really good. Obviously the cutscenes are very dated, but the codec calls are great. But like I said, you get fully invested into this story, and I feel that influenced in a huge way games going forward. That yes, you can treat this as a movie. You can trust that people don't just want to mindlessly blow things up. Mm-hmm. They really want to get emotionally invested.
You said the cutscenes were dated, but
they're dated now.
It's because they were using the actual in-game things. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like
Resident Evil. They just zoomed in on the game, essentially.
It wasn't like Resident Evil or Final Fantasy VII, where all of a sudden it would switch over to CG and everybody looked rubbery. This was cool because it was very theatrical with those cutscenes like that.
Yeah. Yeah, this one, I put it a little bit later on my list, but I'll talk about it a little bit more then. But I think this is an easy choice. I think where we at, the top 5, top 6?
6 now.
Top 6, yeah. So I think this is an easy choice for all the reasons you put on there. Mm-hmm. Deucey, your next one.
My number 6, just out of the top 5, but it piggybacks on your last entry.
It does.
This is Grand Theft Auto 5. I thought about the original Grand Theft Autos 3, Vice City, San Andreas, but 5 is like the culmination of all of those, and just my favorite one to go back and play the single player of. Like, I recently played Grand Theft Auto 3 when that kind of really bad remaster came out.
Oh yeah.
But it didn't stop me from playing the missions or anything. It wasn't like game breaking, and I just realized like this is very basic. And obviously it was a groundbreaker, like we mentioned, but I am glad that it has led to games like Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption. Like, you could put that one on this list if you're a fan of cowboys.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
But yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, like, the influence it's had on the online aspect of things. Like, this game has lasted 3 generations of consoles because people are just playing the hell out of the online multiplayer.
Yeah, and that's its own separate world with a bunch of different activities. Granted, you can be critical of it with the shark cards and money and all that good stuff, right? But it's whatever. The point is that it's successful for a reason. Yeah. People aren't spending money just because they're being forced to. Like they're making like $1 billion a year or something crazy for good reason on the online.
I saw a little meme that said the PS2 had 3 Grand Theft Autos, and Grand Theft Auto 5 has had 3 PSs.
Yeah. It's 12 years now. I think that came out 2013.
Yeah.
And we're in 2025. And GTA 6 is still potentially a year away. They didn't even know.
I was going to say, I think my only knock on this game is that it didn't influence Rockstar to release GTA 6 in a timely fashion.
That's a fair one.
I think when that one does finally come out, I would put that on this list, and hopefully it's like the end-all be-all. That
I think it will be.
From the looks of it, it looks like it's going to be pretty spectacular. I wasn't a huge GTA guy. Like I did like them, but I never really beat them. The third one though was because like my sister absentmindedly just walked right in front of me while I'm playing it, tripped right over the controller cord and just yanked the PS2 off of the little stand. And yeah, the GTA 3 was bugged out ever since.
Wow.
But I did beat GTA 5 years later because of, like we said, this went on multiple generations.
Yeah, it's a good choice on there. I think, you know, that one, although it's 12 years old, like you could definitely tell its influence on, again, like live service games and everything else. Like they're all trying to be that sustainable game that you can just pump content into and make money off of persistently without having to invest in a new engine or anything else. Next one on my list, you guys have mentioned the sequel to this one, but I had to put this one on here. I put Resident Evil 1 on this list. And really the reason I put it on there is because of its influence on survival horror and the horror genre in gaming in general. A lot of games, like you mentioned Alone in the Dark, which is previous to this, which, you know, the biggest downfall of that game, you could argue, is that it's just so old and it feels old in 1993. Resident Evil 1, even if you play the 1996 version, it's dated, but at the same time, you can also see why it popularized that format where it's, you know, the specific camera angles to sort of tell a different story. Like you run through, you don't know what's around another corner. The story was actually pretty mature for the time. Like, again, you could kind of, if you want to kind of be critical and will away at what it does with the story, you can, but it's a pretty mature story all throughout where it's like this company, this corporation is, you know, developing these viruses and whatnot, and all of a sudden it outbreaks, and now there's zombies, and now you're this, you know, military force or this cop squad to go figure it out and take them down kind of thing. But the influence this game has, as far as like with you using the environments for puzzles, you know, I always go back to like crests and like all these collectibles you find to backtrack. In a sense, it's almost like a Metro game, right? In a sense where it's like you get to a point where there's a locked door. Well, where do I go? Let me go back here and I'll solve this puzzle to do that.
It was so subtle. Like I didn't even realize it until years later, but it is definitely a 3D Metroidvania.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, you know, no one really talks about it because it's kind of, they don't want to put more attention on that because it's really just about surviving and this horror. Like every new section, you don't know what's around the corner and like what enemies are there, what monstrosities you might find. And horror games just haven't been the same since. Like this influenced countless games. Like, you know, you have like your Dead Risings, you have The Suffering, you have The Evil Within. Like there's just so many horror games that are rooted because of Resident Evil and how it portrayed its atmosphere.
Not to mention, like I was talking about that 24/7 PlayStation stream that I found. A couple of games that I've seen on there borrowed heavily from Resident Evil.
Yeah, like in Cold Blood, that one you showed me.
Tank controls and sound effects, picking up items, inventory management. It's just, I didn't realize how expansive it got.
Yeah, flickering items to let you know you should put your attention towards something.
Yep.
Right? A lot of games borrow these elements and they also try to tune up the horror because they know how they can do that. Now they have a way to do that because, you know, games before this is always like side-scrolling or, you know, really rudimentary and elementary 3D cameras, which didn't work. You can't really give a sense of fear and horror when you have this wonky camera that's fighting against you more than anything else.
Yeah.
But when you have something that's fixed in a certain way, or like you're traversing through a mansion, and it's like, that's the thing, is like the sense of discovery and not knowing what the unknown is about there. So for me, it's an easy choice to put on this list. Randall, your next one.
All right, my next one.
And we're getting top 5 right
Yeah,
now.
we are.
Yeah,
so this is
we're
my
getting
number
in
5, and this could easily be number 1. And I think most people would say it's probably number 1. And we're talking about Tetris. Tetris I think is probably the most accessible game ever made.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, that's fair.
It was spectacular. It's such a simple concept that was executed so perfectly, and it became even better. Basically, launching with the Game Boy and making handheld gaming into something that was attainable, because that is the perfect handheld game.
It is. It absolutely is.
Turn it on at any time. I was never very good at Tetris. Like as a kid, I was definitely not good at it. You know, and I know you remember last time you were saying that you thought it was like building castles.
Yep. Yeah.
But it was intuitive. Once you saw those lines disappear when you filled up the whole thing, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. And, you know, but what can you really say about it? Obviously, it inspired a ton of puzzle games, as we spoke about. And since we did speak about it, I think we're going to speak about it again.
I think we might.
I'll go ahead and
I think we
see
might.
the Florida Deuce.
Yeah, Deucey, your next choice in the top 5 breaking in here.
Number 5, this title and his series probably makes sense for me if you know me. It's Mario Kart, and this one is the 64 edition.
I love this one.
I could have even put Super Mario Kart on here from Super Nintendo, but Mario Kart 64 advanced everything that we know about Mario Kart. The tracks became 3D. The items became a little more versatile, and the way you played it, like with the power sliding and everything, that was introduced here. Everything that modern Mario Kart 8 is started in 64. And I played this a ton. This was my first N64 game.
Yeah, I remember you played at my house quite a bit, and it was funny because I remember I had one controller for the longest time.
Yep.
And you and I lost our shit when my mom came back from Kmart with the black controller. I still have today. We're like, we can finally do 2-player. Yes!
I played this at every friend's house that had an N64 before me because they obviously also had this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't wait to get an N64 of my own. And we happened to find a bundle at Costco that came with Mario Kart 64. I was like, this is perfect. And yeah, once I started it, I just like never put it down on until, GoldenEye and some other things came out. But no, this was the game to have back then.
Yeah, and of course this would, of course, spawn tons of kart clones. That was the big thing too.
That too,
like there was a lot of like I showed you that one on PS1 was like Speed Racer, which was a Super Nintendo game. But then there was like Konami had Crazy Racers, I think it was. Crash Team Racing is arguably the best Mario Kart clone you could imagine.
It even influenced Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah.
And what was that other one? Wasn't Spyro in a game? Was there a PlayStation version that had like a bunch of PlayStation characters?
Well, there was Mod Nation Racers, but it wasn't like a
okay.
PlayStation IP thing. It was just, that was a really cool racer that no one played, unfortunately. Yeah.
Even to this day, like, weren't you joking with Mike about the Garfield racer?
Yeah, and I bought that for $2. It's fine for $2. Like, it's really goofy and, it's Garfield, but $2 is $2, It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. Yeah. All right, fellas. Number 5 on mine is a huge one, and I'm talking Final Fantasy VII from the PS1. So RPGs obviously existed previous to this. Final Fantasy had a great run on the Super Nintendo.
There were 6 of them.
There were 6 of them throughout Nintendo. And there was plenty of RPGs like Breath of Fire. There was, I started, the first RPG I played arguably was Chrysalis on Nintendo.
Phantasy Star.
Yeah. Even though I didn't play that when I was younger. But there was a lot of RPGs at the time that were still sort of a niche genre. Like, it wasn't as popular as Final Fantasy VII would make it, because when this game came out, there was a lot of hype leading up to it. And also it was shocking because originally this was meant to be on N64, I think is what they were talking about way back when. But it eventually went to the PlayStation because Squaresoft, obviously, they were Squaresoft at the time, which is another fun thing. Squaresoft realized that they could do more with Final Fantasy with the power of the PS1. And when this game came out, I remember nothing but like commercials, magazine ads. Everyone was suddenly into RPGs, and it's all because of Final Fantasy VII. It was a massive 3-disc game, which, I think PS1 had a few, but whatever the case was, that also kind of told you like how big of a game it was how many discs the game would have.
Oh yeah.
And the story was really incredible and mature. It kind of dumped the fantasy vibe. It went from more of like a corporo industrial kind of feel. You had one of the most influential villains ever with Sephiroth, and we talked about his iconic weapon, the Masamune, right? And this game just made RPGs cool for everyone, because even if you had a PS1, you had to check out what all this buzz was for Final Fantasy VII. And the materia system was really incredible. It did a lot with the primitive graphics, where it had like pre-rendered backgrounds for when you're traversing through the open world or through the world, and you had like these deformed characters. But when you transition to a battle screen, like you had these really badass looking character models. The magic effects. Every RPG after this was trying to mimic the success of Final Fantasy VII. And Squaresoft's golden era was, for RPGs at least, was during the PS1 era, because this game allowed them to popularize their genre and everyone wanted a piece of the pie. And, what is it now, 27 years later, they're still making Final Fantasy games, they're remaking Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah.
RPGs are where they are today because of this game. All right, Randall, your next choice.
All right,
number 4.
Next choice. It's a big one. Going back to the Nintendo, the most recognizable cartridge in the library. We're talking about the original Legend of Zelda.
Oh, yeah.
Bright Gold.
Bright Gold cartridge. And I never owned it. I had like maybe 2 or 3 friends that did.
Same for
and
me.
it was so
Same here.
alluring.
Yeah.
It was so alluring. Like, let's try it out, even though they'd be like, I don't know, because it's not a kid's game, or at least it only is if you own it and you can sit down and really tinker and hopefully can read the instructions. Because the reason I have this on here over Ocarina or over A Link to the Past, both of which I feel are better games, is that, well, it kind of trusted that people were willing to try and fail and try again, and not just in an arcadey sense, but in a exploring every single thing they can sense. It trusted that gamers were smart enough to figure out, oh, you're dying so much because you're not supposed to be here yet.
Yeah.
You don't have what you need to get through this unless you just memorized every single movement of the enemies to a T.
It was possible, but it was insanely difficult.
It might have been a little bit too difficult because of there was some moments where it's like, how was I supposed to know I needed to put the bomb on that particular pixel? There was literally no distinguishing features. I just got a hint that, oh, maybe you can use the bomb to do this in this general area. And you go over to that general area and it all looks the same. And you might run out of bombs trying it. So unfortunately, that is the biggest knock on it, is that you kind of did need a guide in order for those moments to just give you that little push to the next thing.
And there wasn't really a guide for it. Unless Nintendo Power had a pretty extensive...
It might have, but even this game predated.
The instructions had a big map.
There was a big map, and also this game really predated Nintendo Power, because I think this was like 85, 86 in Japan, and it got here like probably 86, 87, somewhere around there, wherever it was. So it also just predates the transfer of information of where to go and everything else, even more magazines.
This is very similar to Metroid, the first one on Nintendo, where it encourages exploration, but it doesn't tell you where or how. And I've heard stories of people who've played Zelda who just like, they would get as many bombs as they could and then bomb each square on every map, on every different screen, just to try to find the next secret and try to find another heart piece that would let them survive a little longer. And like you said, things that you just wouldn't know about. I don't think there's even... Well, there was those little old guys in the dungeons that gave you very vague clues. But when I played it recently, I used a step-by-step guide that somebody had made and was publishing. And one of the dungeons you go into by playing the flute and draining the lake, there's nowhere in that game that tells you can do that.
Nope. That game trusted you to execute trial and error over and over.
It was really obtuse. But again, like you said, Randy, it gives you the agency of an open world in a sense where you didn't know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to experiment and really just, think outside of what the norms are for the games at the time. Because everything was straightforward up until this point, really, right? Like Mario Brothers, again, you go from point A to point B, left to right. But Zelda was one of the earliest examples of, what do you think you need to do to get past this? There's some solution here. You just don't know what it is. You have to figure out, use your tools to wherever you can to figure out how to get through it.
And maybe its biggest influence on home consoles?
Yeah.
Saving.
Yes, that's true.
Thank goodness.
Save it. I think it was Save Anywhere, if I recall, right? With the battery backup. Yeah. All right, Juicy, your next choice, which I think is another fantastic choice that we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we already mentioned it.
I figured this is going to be high up on your list.
But you knew it had to be on my list. And
I knew it.
Number 4 is GoldenEye. Like I said, this is the only thing that dethroned Mario Kart 64 on my N64. It was the second ever game I got for that system. I was just amazed by what it did for first-person shooters, because I had played Doom before, but like you mentioned when we talked about it earlier, this one kind of opened it up, and now you had all these objectives, and they didn't specifically tell you where to go. A guide definitely helped, but it was fun to know that they weren't all in an order. It wasn't a checkpoint system. You had to go over here, then you had to go way over there, then you might have to turn around and come back. You also have to find like every little alarm thing. You might have to shoot all of those or find every camera. It was just so good. And I mean, it introduced me into the Bond series of films. Yeah. Even though my dad was a huge fan, we hadn't really sat down and watched them together. But after I played this game, I was like, I want to watch them all.
Yeah, this one, I knew it was going to be higher up on your list with good reason. But
Same
this
here.
one is an absolute freaking classic.
It is. It's the first great first-person shooter I ever played.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. The next one on my list is another big one that is near and dear to my heart and many hearts. It's Super Mario 64. So when the N64 came out, this was a launch game for it. 3D, again, had been a thing, like on PC and PS1, but nothing captured the control and navigating a 3D space like Mario 64 did. And tons of games after this try to mimic it with that floating camera, or even the progression system where it's like you would go into a world, collect a star, what have you, get back out, go to another world, do something there, and you would unlock like new power-ups like the flying hats or Metal Mario, which means you have to go back to another level. Again, almost like a Metroidvania form in a sense, where you would unlock certain things in certain areas of the world, and it would unlock something else in the other world. But this game would influence platformers and 3D gaming until now. Like, from analog control to Mario's mobility. Like, I remember I had read that they specifically made a room that they could test all his abilities in to make sure that, it felt right to play. Because that's one of the things they wanted to nail was the feel of Mario. Because 2D Mario feels a lot different than 3D Mario, but you also want to make sure that 3D Mario feels just like 2D Mario did. And that includes like with his weight and momentum and how he jumps. And this game like before I even owned an N64, I was at Blockbuster like every week with my parents going to the kiosk to make an excuse to play this thing, right? And again, like there's so many games like Banjo-Kazooie, even most recent like Yooka-Laylee, Donkey Kong Country, Returns, all those games in some way have Mario to paint as an influence. And like collectathons really kind of originated with Mario 64 in a sense. Like you go in and collect all the red coins to get a star. You go in to collect all the 6 red stars, or you collect all 120 stars to go find Yoshi at the top of the the castle or something, right? The mark on this game, it's just, this was an easy choice for me. I knew that I had to put it above some of the other games because when this game came out, I think people try now to say like, oh, it wasn't that great of a game. It's like, I don't think you understand what it was in 1996 to play this game.
Yep.
And how quickly other games tried to capture the magic this game had. All right, Randall. Number 3 on your list. We're getting to the end here.
All right, number 3 on my list. I think it's probably the most influential game of this century. When we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
This century, of the 2000s and up. Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go in too much because we did talk about it a lot before. But after this game came out, it was like the floodgates opened for this is what the people want. This is what they expect. Obviously, it was a highly controversial game because of the mature rating and the dialogue and all those things.
And what you could do.
Yeah, and what you could do. But it was just an incredible experience. And like I said, I remember when we bought it, I was going there to get some other game. And I don't even remember what game it was, but they didn't have it. And then I saw Grand Theft Auto 3, and I'm like, I've heard that's good. It was like, can I get that? And it was just like no fuss or whatever. Like, yeah, okay. And and then I remember like my mom kind of watching it. She's like, if I had known, maybe not. but she got a kick out of it too. Yeah. Like there was just little moments of dialogue that were just suggestive, and then she just like snort.
It's
like,
the satire that I think appealed to at least my parents. At least like they thought it was funny. And Smith is like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have been playing it, but they're like, it's just stupid. Like what?
I was about to mention that like what nobody talks about with these older games is like it was all satirical, and like even into the modern games, like just listen to the radio stations and how they take possibly real world situations and then like blew them out of proportion because it was just hilarious. There's cults and there's pop stars going crazy.
Laszlo, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God,
Laszlo.
Iconic.
Wasn't Robert Loggia one of the voices of someone in that?
I don't remember.
Might have been in Vice City.
I think he was in 3, but I could be wrong.
Oh, maybe yeah.
But yeah, it was just a phenomenal game, and it basically was the biggest game there was at the time, and then obviously they just kept adding more and more with Vice City and then San Andreas and 5.
And again, how many open world games exist today? Like
exactly.
I bet if we looked at the calendar right now for the next games coming out in the next 3 months, we'll probably get 10 or a dozen open world games that are coming out.
Yep.
Red Dead Redemption 2 and all of those things, they all harken back to Grand Theft Auto and the freedom to do whatever the hell it is that you wanted to do, even if that was unfortunately, like pulling over the car to go smack around a pimp or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know about the pimp you're smacking
exactly.
And, that was a little bit controversial back then.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit. It still is today in some extent. I don't think they even have that anymore, do they? I don't know.
What? Yeah.
Do they in 5?
Yeah. It's a lot harder. It's more based on the location of the city.
Oh, okay, that makes
which
sense.
is like if you're down in the downtown area or something like that. But if you're up in the richer hills, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
It's funny how they like took every little aspect, even if people were talking about it in the real news, and they just said, no, we're going to keep it in here, but we're going to tweak it.
We're
going to make it more realistic.
Yeah, if you want some company for the evening. Yeah. All right, do you see your number 3 on your list?
My
This is
number
a great
3,
one.
Super Metroid. Mm-hmm. I almost forgot to put it on this list. I was like, wait, what was I thinking? But it's, the other half of the coin from your Castlevania entry.
Yeah.
This is
It
what
influenced Castlevania.
yeah, it influenced Castlevania. It's what created Metroidvanias. It was doing it before Castlevania, though, because Metroid 1 was even like this sprawling map. Go somewhere, go back with the items that you gained to go progress somewhere else. I mentioned it when I was sick. I just picked it up because it was chicken noodle soup. I just will play it without a second thought. I want to not even think about what I'm playing, and I'll just pick it up and just run through it in almost a speed run fashion, even though I can't do what those speedrunners can do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but you're still pretty, adept to it. Way
Yeah.
more than I am even. Like even I've been in it a few times and I'm still just like, huh? I know what I'm supposed to do, but I forgot where I was supposed to do it.
Yeah. No, I can't say enough about this game. It is my top Super Nintendo game, and it might be my top game ever, even though it's not on the top of this list.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, for everyone listening out there, we did a whole episode about this last summer with our friend Vito, and that we did a nice deep dive into this and how significant it was. So no surprise that you put this in your top 3 at all, because I fully expected this. I just wasn't sure where you're going to put it.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be maybe 2, but 3, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, this was one of the big games that I was just thinking like, maybe if I had a Super Nintendo growing up,
Oh, for sure.
it would have made a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously it's a great game and I've seen it. But when you were saying you couldn't say enough about it, it was like, same here, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Don't have the experience.
I literally can't say enough.
Literally.
All right, guys. Number 3 on my list should be no surprise to anyone listening or you guys at all. It's Street Fighter 2. My God, when this game came out, the fire it set in the arcades is just incalculable. It influenced tons of fighting games. It refined what a fighting game should be, because previous to this, they had Street Fighter 1, which was absolute garbage. It played like garbage. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And there were other, I don't know, I think Art of Fighting had been out before this. SNK had been doing some, but nothing captured what Street Fighter 2 did, which was having 8 very distinct characters, 8 very distinct play styles. They all had special moves that actually would be executable with your button motions. That was a big thing with Street Fighter 1 and
Yeah.
other fighting games. Is like you would do these button motions and nothing would come out. It was just a miss. But they had lightning in a ball of Street Fighter 2, because after this, I mean, you look through any magazines from the 90s, you look at all the arcades in the 90s, there was a fighting game every other arcade machine, because everyone and their mother and every development company was trying to capture what Street Fighter 2 did. And the reason we're playing fighting games today is largely because Street Fighter 2, I don't think many people cared about fighting games before this. Like, it had a world map with, again, the 8 distinct fighters who were all around the world. They all had their sort of signatures and flares and personalities, which hadn't been done before. At most, you might have had a couple playable characters in previous games.
I mean, before this, the big thing, and you mentioned it with Double Dragon, was beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
And then people were like, wait, we don't have to walk anywhere? We can just face off against this one person?
Yeah, to me,
Sign me
It
up.
could be a person, not
yeah.
a computer.
And that's the other thing too, is when you go to the arcade, like you would have almost, again, like a communal thing where it's like you like who got next, right? Like
Exactly.
you put the
Put that
cord on the
quarter down on
machine,
there.
right? And you'd fight people, you have no idea who they are. You'd find techniques that you didn't know existed. You'd see
Yeah.
someone do a combo. It's like, what? That's possible. And this game, it's one of my favorite games of all time for good reason, because I can get into it, and it's just like, to me, it's like the essence of a game for me, where it's like you're fighting one other person one-on-one. It's a 2D plane. It's almost like mental chess. Like you have to have a mental stack of like what they're going to do. You have to know what abilities that person has as far as their characters. What, like if I play Randy, I have to know what he's capable of. I have to be offensively defensive and then defensively offensive at the same time. And Street Fighter 2 just encapsulates fighting games in their purest essence, with just this sense of one-on-one fighting with distinct characters and how you have to learn how the other player plays. And it's just the influence across fighting games. There's no way you can measure it, to me. Like, it's just, there's a reason fighting games exist today, like with Mortal Kombat and everything else, and it's because of Street Fighter 2. So
Yeah, that's a great pick, Don. It really makes me excited to talk about my number 2.
we'll
My number
segue
2
perfect
game
into
here.
it. Yeah,
My number 2
Your
game.
number 2,
Street Fighter 2.
Street Fighter 2.
I will say this
Turbo
with,
or something.
with
One of those
100%.
other
Yeah,
ones.
oops, I did it again. But I will say this with certainty. To me, this is the greatest arcade cabinet ever made.
I'd agree.
I'd think
agree.
that
Yeah.
it is. I remember the first time I saw it was I was just a kid and went to Round Table Pizza. And Round Table Pizza, they had a little arcade section. And one day I go in there, and all of a sudden there's this new cabinet. And on this cabinet, there's these two dudes squaring up until one of them gets popped right in the jaw. And then this big Street Fighter 2 logo balloons up. And it was just absolutely awe-inspiring for me at the time. And I do remember playing it. I probably picked like Blanca or something because he just looked
looked awesome.
so unique. And I just remember like looking at it. Obviously, I was not good. I did not know what I was doing, but it was
Not with
so
Blanca.
no, exactly. But it was just so weighed so heavily on my mind because I could just visualize I'm getting home and thinking like, wow, that I need to play that game again, and having all of those characters distinctly in my brain, like Blanca looking all green, the Ken and Ryu looking, with the classic Shoto archetype.
And like the martial artists.
Guile with the best hair in all of video games.
Yeah.
And Mr. America
Dulcim,
tattoo and everything.
Dulcim with his stretchy limbs. And it was just such the most incredible thing I had seen at the time.
I would say it's so influential that it even draws me into fighting games, and I am not good at them, but I still want to play a Street Fighter. I know the characters, I know a lot of their lore, and it bled off into Mortal Kombat, which could have been an honorable mention on these lists.
Yeah, absolutely.
For what it did for the industry, but Street Fighter started it, and I still want to play them today. Any type of fighting game, I'll play Marvel vs. Capcom and stuff like that, which includes a lot of Street Fighter in it. And yeah, it's just so surreal how it all started with the arcade, and then it's blown up into what it has
blew up.
as a genre.
It absolutely launched the genre. I know there was things before it, but when you saw how well done this was, that you end up getting something like Mortal Kombat, which was a different type of fighting game, and it was great in its own right, influential in its own right too.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wasn't good at it back then. I had like Alpha 2 on Saturn. And I loved that.
I love that one.
And like I didn't get good until I realized Don was just so incredibly good that I was like, well, I gotta at least let him have some fun.
Yeah.
So otherwise, he's just gonna pummel me like he pummels Mike.
I will
pummels
give you credit Randy, because you did learn quite, not quickly, but you did learn.
Like,
you learned the
HD
game.
Remix helped a lot because it was such a beautiful remaster of
Yeah,
2.
but I'm saying like most people quit against me. I'm not trying to stroke my own ego here, but it's like, a lot of people just don't want to play with me. And it's fair,
Yeah.
But Randy was like, I'll play.
If I had someone growing up that was better than me, I probably would have been better, because I remember that's what you were saying was
That's
the
exactly
case for
what it
you.
was. Yeah,
Was that you had someone that was better than you? I had my little sister.
Yeah,
And
I eventually surpassed my friend because he was a few years older than me, and like he'd always bring this over until I eventually got it, and I was just like hooked immediately because he was better than I was. He was 4 years older, and eventually like the apprentice became the master of sorts, and that's kind of how I feel
It was
with
your
Randy.
younger
It's like,
reflexes.
Yes, and it's just like with Randy, like we played countless times, and Randy would take it, like he would just he'd get slaughtered like
I can
20
do this
times
all
in a
day.
row. Yeah.
And it would be all BS because I absolutely countered all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the game was thinking by not
It was
showing
a
it
lot
on
of
the
issues.
screen.
It was lag.
Lag, exactly.
My counter to that was, okay, see me in GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, I'm done playing this stupid
I think
game.
I think we all have those games that.
Yeah.
For
it's
sure.
just-
For sure.
Yeah, I like when everyone started getting into Fight Night, and I realized that I was just so much better than everybody at that.
Yeah, I will say like one thing with fighting games for me is like there's a lot of games that I may dive into and I might dive out, or not dive out, but may get out of. But with fighting games, like that's one of the few genres where I could just sit there in practice mode, learn through the move list, and just learn a character all the way through. And that's just what I love the most about them is like I can learn that and get sort of an affinity for the character, and it's just again like going one-on-one with somebody. Like that's the purest form of combat, right? Just one-on-one in a fighting game.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Ducey, you're number 2. This is
that's right.
a fantastic one since I had it on my list as well.
Yeah, we're jumping back into the painting of Super Mario 64.
Oh, yes.
This was my number 2. Almost didn't have it this far up because I was thinking of like Mario as a whole, and I had already mentioned Mario 3. But then I remembered, no, this was a huge influence on 3D, like you mentioned in your entry. And for me, like, I was jealous that I didn't have an N64 right away because I totally wanted this. I would see the commercials. I would see my friends playing it. I was like you. Anytime there was a store with a kiosk, I wanted to go play just Mario 64. And then I got my N64 and did not get Mario right away.
Me neither for the longest time.
Yeah.
I rented it, and it took me a long time to get for some stupid reason. But I knew those first few levels front and back.
Yep.
Thanks
I
to
ended up
Blockbuster and everything.
borrowing it a lot from different friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a ways down the way before I finally got one my own. And only just recently, probably 2021 or 2022, I finally got all 120 stars.
There you go. I did that way later in life too, but it feels good when you can get all 20 because some of those are really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, my number 2. We did an episode on this. Was it? No, it wasn't Halloween we released this. It was October though. It's Doom for the PC. I've expressed a lot in that episode why I think Doom is an influential game, and I think it's one of the most important games just because of what it did for first-person shooters, what it did for PC gaming at the time. It was really multiplayer. It had LAN and even online deathmatch at the time. What it did for the PC modding community, like that is a huge thing that's still going today. Like there's sites dedicated to PC mods and people cracking games open and fixing them or completely converting them to something different. And it all circles back to Doom. Like even we talked about like GoldenEye, Call of Duty, all these games in some way owe something to Doom because Doom was the ultimate first-person shooter at the time. In my eyes, like I still love Doom. Like anytime there's a new Doom game, I'll buy it. Like Randy texted me that you're getting this Doom collector's edition. I sure did already.
Yeah. I was like, you're getting this $200 thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
Already did. And it's just Doom just has that visceral feel to it where there's a lot of first-person shooters where they take a while to get going. And there's bogged down tutorials. Doom's like, no, just get in and just shoot.
Here's a gun. If it moves, kill it.
If it moves, kill it. If it bleeds, kill it. Kind of thing. And it's just every first-person shooter is influenced by Doom in some way. Like Doom is, there was an article we saw recently where someone made Doom playable in a freaking PDF file or something.
Oh yeah.
Like the versatility of this game and what it did for open source and shareware and everything. Like it's just impossible to really encapsulate what it did for PC gaming and gaming in general.
And first-person shooters.
Like it is just a remarkable game that I just feel like has DNA in everything we play today.
Yeah, it would have absolutely been on my list if I had played it more back in the day and not played most of my experience with the original Doom is playing it within another game of Doom.
Oh
yeah,
that's also true. They would put it in there somehow. Yeah.
Oh, I love was it Doom 2016 when they have those little
the Doom levels
where you can go back with the modern guns and still play it, and I still remember how those old map layouts go.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I said, it's I know a lot of people talk about it's Doom's influence, but I really feel like it's one of the most influential games of all time. There's no bones about it. All right, Randy. We're getting to our number 1, so share with us your number 1 choice for the most influential game of all time in
number
Randy's minds.
1. So Zelda, we each had one different game of each.
Yeah.
And so is the case in this franchise where I am going with the original Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo.
Yes.
This is it. Like I didn't want to have such a basic answer. And because I kept mulling it over, and I was just like, I just don't know how I can't put this number 1.
You could have put Pong on there.
I could have.
That would have been more
basic.
basic.
Done that. I could. Shop probably should have put Pong as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Along with a few others like I thought of like Tomb Raider,
stuff.
Just whatever. But I still distinctly remember the first time I played this. Do you guys remember? I remember getting the Nintendo that night. My dad's friend coming over. So long Atari. I don't remember what games we had on the Atari. I remember I liked it and was like, oh no, the Atari. And then plopped down, put in Super Mario Brothers, and was like, oh, bye Atari. And it was just absolutely mind blowing at the time because it was such a huge step up from Atari.
It definitely was. It was a generational leap, but I mean, it felt like multiple generations above Atari.
It really did. And this game was the selling point of it. Like it was mentioned earlier that the original Super Mario Brothers kind of saved home console gaming. And so obviously it had that influence. It influenced people to get a Nintendo. It influenced all sorts of game makers to understand you need a mascot. You need a number 1 character. You need a
killer app.
You do. You need that. Yeah. You need to have a character like Mario. Yeah, there was Pac-Man. There was Donkey Kong. But they weren't. They were more arcades. and it wasn't a home thing.
Yeah,
I mean, they did have home game versions, but
Super Mario Brothers wasn't even a launch game.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a little after. Yeah.
Even though we all know it was packaged in with the
That's
NES.
when most of us got it.
Yeah,
It was
that's
just
what we had,
packaged
that with
Duck
Duck
Hunt
Hunt
and Mario Brothers.
and the light gun.
But yeah, when it came along finally, I think we played it when my cousins brought their Nintendo that one year, and I have the story about Metroid, but I think they also had Mario, and I think that spoke more to my dad, who probably saw me playing these games and realized, hey, maybe he likes this, and we'll go and get it, and then he ended up playing Mario a ton. But we always talk about modern games and how it all basically for us started with Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if you ask them what their first game was, especially for my generation, it was likely Super Mario Brothers.
It was the first game I remember owning that I remember the name of, because obviously we had the Atari, but I don't remember the names of those games. That was a long time ago.
Even for how basic they were.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but I will never forget Super Mario Brothers. I'll never forget the first time I hit the little box, and then what's this flower? And then all of a sudden, the B button is shooting the enemies with fireballs, and I'm just thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
The music, the graphics, everything is what attracted me to it, and that's what kept you playing. Like when you pick up a star and you hear the jingle, it's like those are iconic sounds for a reason. And again, it spawned so many gamers,
So many
copycats, and again, so many developers from that of games we love, right? Like all these games on their list in some way. I guarantee you, some developer out there has played Mario Brothers before this when they were growing up.
I'm not going to say that video game consoles would have never caught on without Mario, because I think that's a silly thing to say.
This was definitely the catalyst.
But I will say it would look a lot different.
It would.
It would look so much different.
Yeah. All right, do you see your number one choice?
My number one choice is the only game that's been talked about twice before. We all had it on our list.
We did. At all different spots, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Like all throughout. Like, like almost perfectly placed.
It is Tetris.
Yes.
And I know I didn't put it at number one for my NES games, but that's because that was specifically the NES version, and I was so young I was building castles instead of clearing lines. But since then, it has... I've come to see it as like one of the most influential games of all time. We've talked about it selling Game Boys. There's that new game that came out that's also part documentary. And since the early days of it, I've played it so much that it's just my go-to pick up and play. I'll fire up Tetris 99, even though I lose at it pretty quickly these days. But I will go into all of the different Switch apps and play the different versions that are in Nintendo, Game Boy, all of those, and Tetris Effect. That's one of probably my favorite Tetris game now of all time.
I agree with you on that for sure. It's really good. We have to have you try the VR one, Randy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just can't say enough about it. Like, this beat out other games that are definitely my favorites. Super Metroid, Mario Kart, GoldenEye. I'm great at those. I love those. But Tetris is just so fun now, and you just can't put it down.
Yeah. It's like I said before, that is the ultimate easy to learn, hard to master game. And it's what every puzzle game strives for. Is they want to get that addictive nature that Tetris gave to you, because it's like Randy said, you might lose in 2 minutes, but you're like, I could do that again though. I might get a better set of Tetraminos and I can beat my score. And it's just that one more round sort of mentality where it's like you might lose, but it's so quick to start up a game and just have fun that you just want to get lost in it. It's perfect. All right, guys, my number one most influential game of all time is also one of my most favorite games of all time. It's Metal Gear Solid, and we talked about this earlier, but to me, this game, when I first saw it, it blew my mind, and when I got it, it blew my mind even more. It was like a nuclear bomb going off in my head. Just from the opening credits, when like you're Snake and you're kind of swimming through, and your codec you're being talked to through your codec from Roy Campbell, to the cinematic panning of the camera going up with the elevator, like the enemies going up. This felt like credits. And the credits going up, where you'd see like Hideo Kojima and all the actors and whatnot and the developers. Nothing in my life had ever been close to that game before, because I had never played any kind of cinematic experience or any mature story like that. And Hideo Kojima is definitely one of the more visionary game developers ever. Like, he's had roots in like Snatcher way back in the day, where he's tried to tell these very mature sort of, whether the cyberpunk inspired stories or like with the original Metal Gear games, where he wants you to be this tactical stealth ultimate soldier who's supposed to go and right the wrongs of the world, whether it's someone who has a a Metal Gear Rex nuclear deploying warhead kind of thing.
Did he have a hand in the original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2?
Yeah, he created the original.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But this game, I mean, every game now tries to capture that narrative storytelling, that sort of style where it's like they try to present all these different camera angles to try to convey certain emotions with certain actors and their characters and have this really mature and thought out story where you're playing through the game and like everything is supposed to be culminating to an end for the story, where it's like there's these plot points that unfold as you go through. And there's like this level of immersion that most games didn't have at the time, where it's like you're traversing through snow and your footprints are there. And what like the enemies are now tracking me through those footprints? Or it's like later in the game, like, they see like if it's being snowed on, they see like your imprints. They see that it's been disturbed in some way. Or in this game, it gives you the versatility where it's like you're going through vent shafts and you're observing conversations through soldiers to find out what you're supposed to do next in the mission. This game just presented a level of immersion that had never been done before. And like I said, there's so many games now that try to capture what this does. Like you could say it's Uncharted. Last of Us probably was influenced by stuff like this, right? Sure. Where they're trying to tell you this very mature and thoughtful story that they want you to get immersed in and feel empathy for these characters. And it all started with Metal Gear Solid. Like there's a lot of adventure games before this and a lot of cinematic games, but there was nothing that came close to Metal Gear Solid, and every game now is trying to capture what Metal Gear Solid did in 1998.
Yeah, this one had a very spy movie feel.
Yeah.
Where especially with the the characters and the double crosses and all of those things, like you really get yourself immersed into this story. Like I said, they're all pretty convoluted. They can't do like a straight adaptation to movie because a lot of people say, oh, they need to make the movie and just copy the game. I'm like, no, not entirely. That would be a little too much. Yeah. But the bones of it, yes, it's there. It's perfect, and it's my it's Metal Gear, Mass Effect. Like those are my favorite game series because of how much I love getting involved into those stories.
And they're in the upper echelon of just games in general.
Yeah,
because
the gameplay is also fantastic.
There's always been arguments about what gaming is as far as an art form, and Metal Gear Solid is the one that blurred that line between like cinema and gaming, right? Because everything else you could say is like you could distill gaming to like this, like this kid thing or something before if you really wanted to get sort of dismissive of it. But Metal Gear was that game where you just in the first 10 minutes of that game, it feels like a movie, and again, it blurs that line between of what film was and what gaming was. And I don't think there's any game that was before this that could come close to what this did. And that's what games are now. It's like everything is it's an art form in some ways, but it's another way to tell a story and also immerse you in a different world,
I think this had a lot of influence without beating you over the head with it. Like Grand Theft Auto, we mentioned open worlds came out of nowhere, but like you said, this is so cinematic that every game wanted to be this way now. And it's partly why like I still enjoy gaming over movies and TV.
Same for me in a lot of instances, yeah.
Like the way that games have incorporated story so much that I'm sitting there with my free time, which is, dwindling these days. But I'm like, do I want to watch a 2.5 hour movie? Do I want to watch a show for a few episodes? Or do I want to go back into this world where I'm influencing the story and I want to see where these characters go? And yeah, it definitely comes back to Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, and to go another layer above that, it's like just sort of the meta narrative, right? Where it's like you're supposed to be a player playing as Snake, but then it's almost like throwing in your face at the same time, like trying to break the fourth wall, that you're also controlling Snake's story, like you said, right? So it just does things that hadn't been done before, and like I think it opened up a lot of developers' eyes to saying like this is where gaming could go and where it should go, and this is where it's been since then. So for me, I could almost put Doom, Street Fighter 2. Those are like my top 3 here. I could put them all at number 1, frankly. Yeah. But I think as far as like the objective impact of what it had on gaming, like Metal Gear Solid just has to be number 1.
Not just its own genre.
Not just its own genre.
Outside of its genre.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's not the adventure game. It's just lots of games have taken influence from Metal Gear Solid in some way. All right, guys. So we made it. We had a hell of an episode here. My goodness, we're at 2.5 hours. So if you're still with us,
we got another half hour to discuss the games we forgot.
Here's 16 to 50.
Like I said, as I was getting near the end, I'm like, Wait, did I just completely forget to mention Tomb Raider?
I know. Well, again, it's like we could do another volume of this, right? Another part 2 or something.
Greatest Hits Volume 2.
Greatest Hits Volume 2. Yeah. So,
Now that's what I call gaming.
So if you're still with us, we hope that you enjoyed all of our lists. I think we had a pretty badass episode overall.
I enjoyed it. It was
Yeah.
a good time.
A lot of discussion, a lot of good choices on here. And if you think you have some games that should have made our list, or if you just want to send us your own list, again,
please remind us.
Please remind us, because there's thousands of games that we probably even could have mentioned and didn't think about. You can send it to us at legiongamingpod@gmail.com, and you can also reach us on Instagram, where I post all my collections and all this other cool stuff at Legion Gaming Podcast. Fellas, any final words in our marathon of most influential games?
Just press start to pause and take a break.
Which we did not do this entire time, and I was very close to just showing you my phone. Like, can we take it?
All right, friends. Well, everyone out there is listening. Maybe go take a break as well, although you might be listening to the car or something. But yeah, enjoy yourselves. Thank you.